Good afternoon!
Wow.
Hey, welcome in! Happy Wednesday, a wrestling Wednesday for everybody out there who celebrates.
It's a Jeff Rust Wednesday.
Which should be everybody. Yeah, and a Jeff Rust Wednesday. Welcome back, Mr. Rust.
Holla at your boy.
Indeed.
That was a drop. He didn't even turn his microphone on.
Yeah.
No, I just did just now.
Those folks that are watching on YouTube, youtube.com/1080am The Fan, you can see his little red light, not on. Not on.
Well, now it is.
Now it is.
Yeah.
A year older and wiser as you come back to that seat.
At least a year older.
I mean, you're still a wise ass, but
There we go.
I mean,
Exactly.
There's something,
where
there's
things
something
start.
wise in there.
yeah.
We all know what's really happening here.
Welcome back, Rust.
Hey, thanks.
Welcome back. It's good to have you back. You're our woogie.
I would say it's good to be back, but let's face it. I don't need to blow that smoke up anybody's arse. They know it's not true.
Wow.
Yeah, you were. Well, I mean, you were living that beach life.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
I feel like the Jeff Rust retirement plan is going to be just living on the coast.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
And on a beach somewhere.
Mhm.
Just living that good life.
Absolutely.
Being a coastie.
Yep.
People are just going to come across to you and they're going to be like, what's this guy's story?
Just taking over the Manzanites.
How'd you end up here? What was your path here?
Well, they haven't been paying attention the last close
You-
to 35 years.
You from here?
Do we have any beach hermits anymore?
What do you mean? Like people?
Like people, not crabs.
But you're gonna have to elaborate on that. I don't know what that means.
The lone wanderers of the beach.
Oh yeah.
Do we have them out here?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not a frequent coast goer.
Not many folks leave the Oregon coast.
Yeah.
You live there and you're like a lifer.
Oh yeah, no, I know that, but I'm
Yeah.
talking about like the hermits on the beach. I'm talking. We're going full Goonies.
I
here.
feel like if we're going coast hermits, they tend to probably stick away from the actual sand part of the
Okay.
beach and just come a touch further inland.
Mm-hmm.
You know, wandering up and down Highway 53,
Yeah, that's more. what I'm
perhaps the
talking
old
about,
Miami
yeah.
Foley Road.
Yeah.
Yeah. You end up in Jewel, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe if you're getting crazy, Mist.
Yeah. How the hell do we wind up in Hamlet?
I feel like you guys are just making up names.
No, dude.
No, they're real.
No, those are real. Those are all real places.
The
that we
Hamlet
just
Quick
named.
Stop. That's the place in Kindergarten Cop where the lady cop gets out to go throw up.
Hamlet. I do not have any family that has lived there. Jewel and Mist. I do have family that have lived there.
My wife's friend, or not my wife's friend, my daughter's friend, her family has a cabin up
Yeah.
in the hills of Hamlet.
My mom was a proud coastie growing up. Seaside High. She's a seagull. And then
Flying right at the sky.
my grandfather was the cop in Cannon Beach.
My grandparents lived outside of Nehalem off of
look at that.
Highway 53 and God's
that.
Valley Road.
Look, we got coasties here.
Yeah, I am.
We
I'm-
got
I'm
coasties
not.
here. Yeah.
It's in our
Dude.
blood.
Yeah, my grandmother has migrated down the coast. She lives in Florence.
Oh, we could say we Gold Beach in it.
No, not that far down. Nobody
Okay.
goes. Nobody goes that far down. What are we talking about here?
No one goes there.
No,
It's like Mordor.
she lives in Florence now, and I think like all of my all of my mom's side of the family, they're hovering along coast now. Her brother lives in Half Moon Bay. Her sister lived in Seaside for a really long time, and then ventured into Claskeneye. Big logging community out there. Shout outs Claskeneye,
Mm-hmm.
where my cousin has a day named after him.
Oh,
Yeah, Tyler Best Day. He won a wrestling state championship.
very nice.
So the mayor gave him a key to the city.
cool.
I mean,
I
that
wonder-
is really cool.
No, that is. I don't have a
really.
key. I don't have a key to
I don't
any
have
city.
a day named after me.
Yeah.
That's
Day
pretty
named after you or Key to the
badass.
City. Which one you having?
I think you get both. Like, I think
Well,
if you get one, you get the other.
Yeah,
Right?
I think they are kind of hand in hand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Kind of. I'm not gonna lie. I kind of want one.
Yeah. And like, you just wear it around your neck,
I mean,
like Flava Flav's clock.
you just do what you want.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's my day, and I have a key to the city.
I have asked him before, what is the key open? He's like, I don't think anything. But it's like, it should get you into somewhere. Like
Harry Potter's like Room of Secrets.
or just it's like a
No.
copy of somebody in the town's house. Like, we don't know who. It's just like, you got a key, though. It goes somewhere. And you like your goal is then on that day, it's like the purge, right?
Mhm.
Anything goes.
Yeah.
Like on his day, he should be able to go up to any lock
This is
that
my
he
house.
sees and see if the key works. And
Yep.
if he finds it,
Mm.
then them's his now.
It's
Yeah.
finders keepers.
It's
At
like
least for
what-
that 24-hour period.
It's like Wild Wild West,
Yeah.
where like you could just use I claim this land. It's like, well, I don't know. Nope, I called dibs,
Yeah.
and they're like, all right, well,
I
he
just
makes a
planted-
really good point.
I just planted my flag. It's mine now.
They're like,
This ball musket says it's mine.
well, how much? How much is it? I don't know. Till there.
Yeah.
I like where's there? I don't where we can't see anymore. That's mine.
There we go.
If
And-
I can see you, you're on my land.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it's like, oh, all right, well, he makes a good point.
Finders versus keepers.
You know, you're gonna have to talk to Bill because I think from where he is, he can see onto part of where you can see,
Mm.
and that's how the Hatfields and McCoys started.
And
Yeah.
that's how Bill died.
That is how Bill died, and Steve got all of it.
I'm pretty sure there was some moonshine involved in there or something too, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The Hatfield and McCoys. Is there? Why are they? They just hate each other and they killed each other,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But that's just like bad blood neighbors.
It was a blood feud.
Yeah.
I can't remember what started it.
But we all know them.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, because a lot of them died.
you think your neighbors are crazy?
Yeah.
Let's go. And they're in what, Tennessee or Kentucky? One of those two?
yeah, I mean,
Somewhere around there.
6 of one, half dozen of the other.
Yeah. Maybe I think Tennessee. I want to say it's Tennessee. Like
West Virginia, Kentucky.
West Virginia,
Oh, okay.
Kentucky. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense there. That makes a lot of sense there. But we all know, and they're just hillbilly neighbors that just were like, no, dead. I
Yeah.
hate you.
F you, get off my land.
Yeah. You know, I think
And you keep your son away from my daughter.
other people would have been like, we're going to move.
Yeah, it
No.
started because they were different parts of the Civil War.
Oh, yep.
And then
Well, which side are we on? Are we on the Hatfields or McCoy side then?
Well, I guess if it was West Virginia, that was probably the Union
I
then.
believe so.
Well, they're on both sides of it, so we don't know. Well, I just want to make sure we know. We don't want to pick a side here in this battle. And then
And choose wrongly.
yeah. You know, you don't want to be on that. You don't want to say I'm Team Hatfield
So
and be
the
like, "Yeah, no, those
McCoys
are the
say he was captured by rebels. So I would
Okay,
imagine
so
the
we're Team
McCoys
McCoy.
Are
we're Team
You're-
McCoy.
okay.
We're Team Union here."
McCoys are the blue.
and
Yeah.
the next part of this.
Oh, this is gonna
Hatfields are
get
the grays.
This is gonna get very problematic, and it's gonna be like you
Yeah.
didn't want to pick a side on this.
Yeah, then the next part of this is a feud over a hog, the ownership of a hog,
That seems reasonable. I saw the movie Pig.
and then there was the one that I remember is the New Year's Night Massacre.
Yeah, we
That's-
all know
Yeah,
that.
that's the one where they
Over
killed
the pig.
Lots of them.
Over
yeah.
the pig.
Yeah,
I'll be damned.
it was a lot.
All right.
All right. History.
There you go. Yeah,
Yeah, we all know them.
Yeah.
Like when you say Hatfields and McCoys, you know exactly who we're
Exactly
talking
what
about.
you're talking
We're talking about them hillbillies that were fighting over a pig,
Mhm.
and then just got all pew 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 on New Year's Eve.
It's kind of crazy, to give you an insight into my brain.
Mhm.
The number of times I've wondered the course of history, how easily it could be changed by a modern sniper rifle and a couple mags of ammunition.
Yeah. I think you're probably right.
I
I
remember-
would say maybe not even the sniper rifle, but just like a machine gun,
No, just
like a fully automatic gun.
But I mean, think about going back to like just medieval times. You fire a shot from a suppressed rifle in a concealed position a mile away. You know what that is? That's magic.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that's how Merlin the magician became at the Camelot's round table there.
You guys remember the old Hatfields and McCoys miniseries from a while back?
Yeah.
Costner, right?
Yeah, Costner. Yes,
Yeah.
I was just looking it up. Costner, Bill Paxton, Tom Berenger, Powers Booth.
Good God.
He had some star power in
Look,
there,
Con-
man.
That's awesome.
People have varying opinions on Costner. He's the best modern Western throwback actor there is. It's not close.
But
He-
people still aren't going to see his new movie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this
He does westerns in baseball.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I
He's-
mean,
he's-
Costner's nails
he's,
at that.
He's modern day
And
Charlton
Draft
Heston.
Day.
Yeah. And draft day.
I don't know how, but Draft Day has appeared on my TikTok algorithm like a lot recently.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of plot holes in that. It hurts.
Oh, I'm sure.
You
It
don't
hurts.
worry about that.
It hurts to
Yeah.
watch.
That
Don't worry
movie was
about
not
that.
meant for the football head.
Well, he's like, hey, who's that new GM down in Jacksonville? The kid. What's his name? It's like,
Well, I think that maybe like the
Well-
whole point of that is he knew who he was, but he just didn't want to acknowledge him because he's
But
the
let's
kid,
face it,
you
he's
know?
also working in the front office for the Browns, so that kind of tracks.
not
Counterpoint
knowing,
was
yeah.
very good. Counterpoint, it was the Browns.
It was the Browns.
You know, is that the best draft day the Browns have had?
Let's go
Myles
down that.
Garrett?
Let's go down that quarterback jersey.
Miles
Oh,
Garrett.
God.
Yeah, is that the best quarterback draft the Browns have had?
Yes.
ever.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Well, we settled that
Yeah.
then.
All right.
So
Congrats, Kevin Costner, the best GM the Browns have ever had.
To give him a key to the city.
Look, if you were to have a niche, though, I think Costner's got it because, like, if your niche is westerns and kick-ass baseball movies,
Can't go wrong.
Yeah, you could do a lot worse.
Well, look,
yeah.
and it's not like they're cranking them out like superhero movies, so the frequency isn't there.
Well, I think he kind of is at that point with westerns now. Like he's got Yellowstone,
Which he's not doing anymore.
He's got the spin-offs of like what is it, 1889? Is that what it is?
Oh, what? There was a 1932. I think 1889 was one of them.
They're just naming
Yeah.
years
Yeah,
now.
Yeah.
I like that.
They're just naming years. And then he's got the new. What's the new movie? What's the new movie he's got out?
It's something Horizon, and it's not Event Horizon. American Horizon, the Horizon.
That's
whatever.
right. I think you're onto
Yellowstone
it.
Horizon,
Horizon and American
Waterworld Horizon,
Now
the Mailman,
An
the
American
Postman
Saga.
Horizon.
Horizon and American Saga Chapter 1. You can't call it Chapter 1.
Oh, they're already doing like Chapter 2 is basically already made.
Well, I know, but this is why people aren't watching it.
Yeah.
Because you know there's gonna be a cliffhanger, and if there's something that we're like a binge watching culture now, where we don't want to wait. So
Yeah.
I bet you, whatever streaming service, probably Paramount, right?
Safe bet.
Whatever streaming service Horizon is on, right before number 2 comes out, that's where you're gonna see all of the people are gonna start watching that movie
Well, that's the
because they
thing.
don't want the cliffhangers.
So many of these movies these days too, they come out and it's you don't have the same amount of time as you used to between the theatrical release and coming to home video.
Yeah,
A lot of the
it's
movies these
weeks
days,
now.
it's like 2 weeks later, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, holy
if
crap,
something
this is on Netflix
if
already.
something fails, what was it Fall Guy, the Gosling movie?
Mhm.
It didn't do as well as they wanted it to in the first 2 weeks, and they took it out of theaters and put it on streaming services.
That's crazy.
2 weeks, like
Which,
if
by
you-
the way, somewhat entertaining movie, not great.
But I mean, like
Yeah,
if it
and
does,
they
like
made you wait till like the end credits for the Fall Guy theme song,
mm,
which is unfortunate.
I'm looking at Kevin Costner's notable movies and shows. So you got Yellowstone, Horizon, Field of Dreams, obviously.
Yeah.
But he's got some bangers and he's got some ones. This may be controversial. I did not like The Bodyguard with Whitney Houston.
I mean, it's
wasn't
because
made for us.
Yeah, yeah. It's like saying you didn't like Ghost.
No.
Duh.
It wasn't made for
Kinda
for
like
you
Ghost.
and me.
no.
But
It
Ghost and
wasn't.
The Bodyguard, didn't they both come out at the same time?
Ghost was earlier.
Was it?
Bodyguard was like 92. Wasn't Ghost? I don't know. They very may well have.
Bodyguard
90.
92.
90. Yeah.
Okay.
So you got
But-
Bodyguard, Dances with Wolves.
Which I mean, it's 8 hours long, but
Yeah.
boy, is it good.
And if you don't like that, just go watch Avatar.
Yeah.
Waterworld, Hidden Figures, Robin Hood.
He was really good in Hidden Figures.
Hidden Figures is a good movie.
It's an insane movie.
Yeah. The Untouchables.
He was the best Robin, by the way,
Oh.
in Robin Hood. Like
Okay.
of all of the Robin Hoods, his Robin of Locksley
See,
was
but the thing
best.
is, though,
Uh-oh.
look, entertaining
Uh-oh.
movie and it's great,
Mm-hmm.
but they should have just reshot the scenes that he tried to do the English accent in
Oh,
and then
yeah.
abandoned about 20 minutes into the film.
Uh-huh.
Just reshoot them without him trying the crappy
Yeah.
British accent,
Yeah.
and then make the whole movie with him.
I will
without
make a
an
counterpoint to my own point about him being the best Robin Hood.
Oh, good.
Kira Yules.
accent. Elvis.
Yules. I know.
Yeah.
It's like my.
Oh, okay. Like, wait a second.
Uh,
Are we putting the emphasis on the wrong syllable?
Yes.
I will go, and then he's got like Open Range. That's a good movie. That
Oh,
movie
yeah,
is
it's a good one.
Great movie. Tin Cup, awesome.
Which fantastic.
The Highwaymen, really good.
Here's a
I like
take.
Highwaymen.
Ryan Reynolds.
shut up.
Ryan Reynolds is just in every movie. What makes him good is that he is just Ryan Reynolds playing a character.
That's kind of in the last decade or so.
Yeah, but I think
Yeah.
that's Kevin Costner too. Think
Bull
about all of
Durham,
his roles are
Whiter.
the same role. It's just Kevin Costner being Kevin Costner.
It's pretty. It's a good niche to have.
You know
though.
what I mean?
And I think you can kind of draw those parallels too, because Ryan Reynolds has bangers and just turd
And some
burgers.
turds, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you give Ryan Reynolds, Costner's got 15 years on him.
Yeah.
Right? If you give Ryan Reynolds another 15 years, he's going to keep going to the well.
Mhm.
He's going to have the bangers he's going to keep putting out, and we'll forget about the turds.
Nobody forgets Green Lantern.
But I know. Well, he apologized for it at the end of Deadpool 2 after the post credits.
Oh yeah, no, he keeps going.
It's awesome.
He keeps going.
Yeah.
Even the new one, he apologizes again.
He knows what he's doing.
Everyone knows how much of a steaming pile of crap that movie was.
But you know what? That
That's
was Waterworld for Costner though. Everybody's like Kevin Costner.
And
That
the
movie.
Postman.
The Postman sucked. The Waterworld was not terrible.
No, when he took the jet ski down on the bottom and he just went way up, that was pretty awesome.
Look, they spent $1 bajillion on it,
hmm
but it's not entertaining.
No,
It's Wet Max.
it is Mad Max in water.
Mhm.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
yeah. And I think that's why people are like, well, we thought this was going to be different, and it's not.
It's an entire world covered in water
Yeah.
instead of an entire world without water.
Yeah,
here's
it's
another
not.
one
It's
too.
a post-apocalyptic wasteland of water
Yeah.
Here's another one too from
instead
the old,
of dust.
Yeah.
the old Vancouver Ford text line in terms of actors that just played the same role in every movie. The Rock.
Yeah. Well. I mean, what are you gonna do?
He's this 6'5", 330-pound Samoan man. Like what is he gonna do?
I mean, I have this criticism of a guy that people love, Nick Cage. Like Nick Cage,
Mhm.
there's no variation
Yeah.
in anything that he does.
Well,
he
that has
has
just become more glaring over the
Put
last
down the
7 years to a
money.
decade too,
Yeah.
because he owes so damn much money on taxes and he can't turn down a movie.
yeah.
but he does a lot of he just is the same guy.
Mhm.
And the guy who's kind of flipped the script on that is Keanu Reeves. Keanu
He's
Reeves
everywhere.
Keanu Reeves,
Look,
phenomenal actor. He went from Bill and Ted and the idiot race car driver in Parenthood
Mhm.
to being like
John
this
Wick.
go-to actor in John friggin' Wick.
Neo.
Look, John Wick and Neo, I think, are kind of the same, but I think the difference between where he was the same was he was Bill and Ted, and then he was that as an FBI agent.
Yeah,
It was the
Johnny
same-
Utah.
That was the same person.
He transitioned from just being an idiot into, we can do something
like
different
a
with him.
legitimate action star. What was
And then
one
the
they did with
first Matrix, he kind of still had the same delivery,
Yeah.
but then he's
sort of evolved
evolved.
there. What was that movie? It was
I am an FBI agent!
God, it's so bad. I love
Back
it.
off, War Child, seriously.
There was a movie that, like
I love
they did.
Swayze, R.I.P.
It was Keanu was in it had a weird animation to it. Oh God, where he's like undercover.
Oh, a Scanner Darkly.
Yes, that's it. Like that. Like look, it's a bad movie, but
Mhm.
Can't say I've ever seen it.
Acid Trip from Hell.
Oh,
Acid Trip from Hell.
okay.
Like just if you ever want to just throw something on where you're like, what the hell is this? And then just kind of continually ask yourself that, but also kind of be enthralled with just how weird it is. It's fun for that.
It's a great summation of my life.
There you go. What the hell is this?
What the hell is this? Well, we're going to keep on going through it. We'll see where we land. All right. Well, that's talking Kevin Costner.
I like it.
A damn legend.
Mm.
I love Kevin Costner.
It's fantastic.
Do we believe the Cal Ripken Jr. conspiracy theory?
That they're the same person?
No.
Oh.
No. That Cal Ripken Jr., one night the lights went out
Oh, yeah, 100%.
in Baltimore, and it was because Cal Ripken Jr. went home and he saw Costner stooping his wife
Mm.
and then ended up going back. They delayed the game so the streak could continue.
Yes.
Yeah. Both of them have denied that. But,
Cowards.
you want to believe some
Oh, no.
stuff. Speaking of things that we'll continue to believe forever, Let's get this radio program on the road. We got a lot that we need to get to. It is Wrestling Wednesday. What's up, Wrestling Wednesday? We have an anniversary to celebrate today. We've got a lot of NFL news and notes, and just the wheels are falling off in one place.
Indeed.
They really are. Got some NBA news, Olympics. I got a baseball, I don't know, baseball sack. Baseball sack. I don't know. We got a bag of balls that we need to get to with baseball because the White Sox won.
I mean, you effectively call it what it is. It's a ball sack.
Yeah. But where we got to start this thing off, he didn't apologize yesterday, and don't expect it today. Next on The Fan. We'll finish in the 400 meters at the Olympics in Paris. Quincy Hall, American sprinter, South Carolina, I believe is where he went. He ends up going from 4th to 1st in the home stretch of the 400 meters. And that makes it now 3 gold medals for American runners at Paris with unbelievable finishing strength. You go back to Noah Lyles in the 100-meter, where he went from last to first in that race. You had Cole Hawker yesterday in the 1,500 meters, where he was trapped against the rail and in fourth place, and then moved his way up to third, and then got an alley and ended up with the gold in the 15. And now Quincy Hall in the 400 meters runs everybody down. He went from fourth to first on the home stretch, running a 43.40 to win gold for the United States.
It looked like,
holy smokes.
It looked like a drag race where an engine blows up on one car, but instead of getting off the gas, the driver just kept the pedal down and said, "Whatever the thing's got, I'm gonna dump it into the tank," because his form goes to hell. He's bobbling, looks like he's gonna fall 5 different times, and then he opens his stride up in the final 20, 30 meters, and he's hitting the ground the same time as the guy from England.
His
but
head and his arms were out of control, but his body didn't. His lower half was all in rhythm, and his core didn't move. It was just his head and his arms.
Just striding it out.
Never really seen anything like that. That was
crazy. To close like that at that much in that small of a distance is insane.
That's wild, man.
He was nowhere near coming out of the turn.
Jeez Louise. I can't remember 3 races like that where you've had the 100, the 1,500, and the 400 all finish that way. That's crazy.
Passes 3 guys.
Yeah.
Down the home stretch. That's nuts.
Man. All right. Football. Jim Harbaugh's been hit with a 4-year show cause by the NCAA. The whole, if you do not cooperate, the NCAA will hammer you. Well, Jim Harbaugh's finding that out. He has been hit with a 4-year show cause that includes a 1-season suspension for his recruiting violations during COVID, where, remember when he said it was just a hamburger, downplaying that whole thing? When you do not comply with the NCAA, they will absolutely hammer you for whatever they can find on you, right? So if you want to think that this is just because of the recruiting violations, I would have to say it also has to do with what we talked about yesterday with the notice of allegations, where he faces level 1 infractions for not cooperating whatsoever with the Connor Stallions spying situation.
He said, "No, I'm good."
And he said, "I will, when you stumble, you apologize. I will not apologize." Yeah. And so he's not going to apologize for the Connor Stallions thing, because that's not what this show cause is for.
Oh.
This one.
What is this one for, Dusty?
Is for violating recruiting and inducement rules, engaging in unethical conduct, failure to promote an atmosphere of compliance, and violating the head coach's responsibility obligations, resulting in a 4-year show cause.
And a lot of this came out of the COVID period.
Oh, yeah. Remember, it was, he says that a recruit showed up on campus.
This is the whole hamburger
They
thing
bought
too.
him a hamburger. And look, the NCAA, like the old saying was, if the NCAA wants to, they can hit you for a ham sandwich. Now we can say
A hamburger.
a hamburger, because that's exactly what happened in Jim Harbaugh's case. Look, unpermissible contact during the COVID lockdown, it happened all the time.
Everywhere.
In
because
a lot.
that's what you had to do.
But again, defiance is what kills you.
Yeah.
And not cooperating is what hammers you. And so it was more than just the hamburger that he said.
Sure. It was text messages.
It was text messages, phone calls, his entire staff just continuing to basically recruit throughout the entire thing. And that does fall on the head coach. Make no mistake, the 3 years leading up to him finally taking the Chargers job, remember, he was rumored to be in the hunt for multiple NFL jobs the
Vikings.
2 years prior to taking the Chargers job. They knew that something was going to happen. He had one final run, and one hell of a run it was.
He basically knew that he wasn't going to get hit last year. So,
yeah.
All right, we'll come back and do this again.
Yeah, and what the NCAA said is that the fact that they thumbed their nose at the rules and going through the recruiting process during no contact times and just saying, we know we're not supposed to, but we're still going to do it. That's why he's getting hit with the 4-year show cause. This is unrelated, though, to the spying situation.
Yes. This
So-
is not the Connor Stallions.
There could be more.
But wait, there's more.
And I wonder if you're going to get Harbaugh to be like, well, yeah, we already went with that. He did that was his suspension at the beginning of the season, by the way. Remember last year he was suspended for the first three games of the season? First 3 games and then the final 4 games of the regular season. And that's when the first 3 games, remember, he had 3 different head coaches for those games.
That's right. They
He-
cycled through because
he went-
Harbaugh didn't want to name one.
He went Jesse Minter as defensive coordinator for one, Sharon Moore as offensive coordinator for another, and then I believe it was his dad and special teams coordinator
Yes.
for the 3rd game. They didn't matter because they played patsies at the
They
beginning
played
of the year.
nobody. Yeah.
But this is why he was suspended for the first 3 games last year, and then the Connor Stallions thing was the last 4 games last year. So Harbaugh missed half the year, or actually just a little bit less because they went 15-0, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So a little bit less than half of the season Harbaugh was suspended for, and they still went perfect and won a national championship. That's a good little resume to have there. I'm so good.
The
we didn't
titles
even need
the
me.
titles per games coached that year, pretty good.
I guess that maybe just says about the level of talent at Michigan last year.
Not too shabby.
If you were wondering if Jim Harbaugh will ever go back to college football,
The answer is no.
no,
Not
because
at least until 2029.
well, no, he'll have to. If he comes back, he'll have to serve the suspension. So that's what you're getting is whatever time he comes back is he'll still face a 1-year suspension for the team that hires him, which is going to be crazy.
Do you hire him as an assistant coach and then
You
have him
just
be an
suspend him
analyst?
for a year.
Yeah.
Well, who's gonna take that job knowing that he's just gonna get?
You know.
Yeah, you do it at Michigan.
Yeah.
You just say you're going to be the placeholder, and then Harbaugh's going to take over, and we promise he'll let you have a job,
Have your job back.
and you get paid a lot of money.
You get head coach pay for a couple years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, that's not
Huh?
a bad gig at all. Huh?
You know.
Go ahead and give you a little extra on top here before that happens.
Not too shabby.
So he's not even eligible to go back to college till 2028, and then at that point, I believe he'll still be suspended with the way that the 1-year suspension happens. Anybody that hires him, his show cause starts today and goes through August 6th of 2028, and then it requires the school wanting to hire him to suspend him for the first full season. So Harbaugh is not going back to college anyway.
No.
I don't think that is going to be in his cards because when you think of Jim Harbaugh always has said that he's going to coach football and then he's going to die.
Mhm.
He is 60 years old right now. You assume he'll get, even if it goes sideways in LA,
He'll get another job.
he'll get 4 years there.
Yeah.
Right. With the Chargers.
Mhm.
So then he'll be 64 years old. And then he'll probably just do what his dad does, which is latch on to somebody in his coaching tree and just be around the game until he literally dies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise known as the Monty Kiffin.
Yeah. That would be okay. Say Harbaugh coaches in the NFL till he's 70.
Mhm.
10 years in the NFL.
Which isn't unheard of at all.
Okay. The NCAA goes away. And the Power Four conferences have their own. Charlie Baker's he's recommended it. The president of the NCAA has said the power schools need to operate under their own umbrella.
Mhm.
He could just go and just start coaching again.
Yeah. Be like, I'm done.
in the new whatever entity that is ruling the, even if hell, say this new entity gets going in 2 to 3 years, Harbaugh could just go and
Gone.
retake the Michigan job and not be under the NCAA's ruling anymore.
Yeah. Should be done with it.
Damn, this is all of a sudden Harbaugh's been playing 3D chess. We're all playing checkers,
Like we talked
brother.
about yesterday, he's no dummy. He's no dummy.
I'm gonna love to hear what Harbaugh has to say about it, and at some point he will be asked.
I mean, he's
about
gonna
it.
be asked today.
Yeah, I mean, Chargers they're gonna drill him down, and he's gonna give a nothing burger of an answer.
It's gonna be
and
fantastic.
It will be fantastic because he said yesterday, quite literally, "I will not apologize."
Yeah.
There it is.
There's
All
no
right.
offense. There's no defense. It's a we fence.
Yeah,
God, I forgot about that one.
yeah, that's a good one. That's it. He's a quote machine.
He is.
America.
I'll never forget him.
I remember I made a little graphic of that. I used Wee Man in offense.
He was doing dishes, packing big lippers.
Mm.
Like he was taking big old dips during the Pac-12 coaches calls back in the day. Pac-10 coaches call. Like he'd just be mid-question. You hear him go, bloop, bloop," and then you'd be like, "Oh, I know what Jim's doing."
Yeah.
And
He's not having a stroke. He's putting in a lipper.
every answer after that, you'd hear like a.
Yeah. Perfect.
Dude's a legend.
I love it.
For your show, Kaz, and the NCAA is just getting going with Michigan as the notice of allegations for the spy thing is going to be coming down the line.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Hey, we've got a new contract has been consummated. We talked about this briefly yesterday and how it pertains to the Portland Trailblazers. Now it becomes official,
Indeed.
and one guy is off the market in the forward trade market. That after us with SportsCenter.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a SportsCenter update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, the Mariners continue their homestand with the second of a 3-game set against the Tigers. 6:40 first pitch on Root Sports and ESPN+. George Kirby starting for Seattle, Tarek Skubal for Detroit. The Mariners start the day with a half-game lead over the Astros in the AL West. Those very same Astros finishing a 3-game set in Arlington against the Rangers. Currently the bottom of the fourth at Globe Life Field. Houston leading Texas 2-0. Jordan Alvarez with a solo home run in the top of the third. In the NBA, the Jazz and All-Star forward Lauri Markkanen have signed a 5-year, $238 million renegotiation and extension. Markkanen previously had 1 year and $18 million left on his deal. The new contract adds $24 million for next season, plus an additional 4 years and $196 million with no options. Over at the Olympics, U.S. women's basketball quarterfinal action this afternoon against Nigeria, and currently the U.S. leading 10-4. We're about midway through the first quarter. Some finals from earlier this morning: Australia over Serbia 85-67, Belgium took down Spain 79-66, and France 84-71 winners over Germany. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Tired of getting dinged by subscriptions? We won't send you a bill. Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan.
Lauri Markkanen and the Utah Jazz have made it official. A new deal for Lauri Markkanen. It's technically a 5-year, $238 million renegotiation and extension. Gives him $24 million more this year, and then a 4-year, $196 million extension. He'll go from making $18 million to $42.2 million
this
a
year. That's the key there with signing that extension. Is that if he did not do that, he would have left an additional $24 million on the table.
Yikes!
So, Lauri Markkanen accomplishes a couple things here. First of all, he gets paid, and the Jazz, who needed to get to the salary floor, accomplished that goal. On top of that, Lauri Markkanen, because he signed the contract today as opposed to yesterday, limits his ability to be traded until the summer. So he effectively gave himself a 1-year no-trade clause. This is kind of the same thing that you get when you sign as a restricted free agent. You have kind of like a right of first refusal. In your first year, you cannot be traded without consent, and you cannot be traded to the team that offers you if you're a restricted free agent. Now, that isn't the case with Lauri. He just basically, because of the timeline, had he signed August 6th, that would have gone to February 10th, 9th, I can't remember the date, of the actual trade deadline, which is exactly 6 months. So it would have meant he was trade eligible for a span of hours. But again, would be trade eligible on the trade deadline. Signing at the 7th, that day gets pushed out. He is no longer trade eligible. Done. Kaput. There's no more, well, the Warriors could, no, it's done. If you are a team who is looking to make a move before the season now, and you're looking at forwards, you're looking at 2 teams. You're looking at the Portland Trail Blazers and Jeremy Grant, or you're looking at the Washington Wizards and Kyle Kuzma.
There is also some news on Jeremy Grant as well as Yahoo Sports' Jake Fisher. He had his little briefing yesterday or late last night where he said that Jeremy Grant would prefer to stay in Portland. Here's an excerpt from what Fisher wrote. Few players want to face the general uncertainty of moving midseason, especially those who've enjoyed newfound stability for the first time in their careers. That has been the same word about Portland forward Jeremy Grant, sources said, despite rival teams' interest in the veteran Trailblazer. He wants to be a Blazer. You touched on this yesterday with Lauri Markkanen and Jeremy Grant. Where neither one of them wanted to be moved because their family situation.
Yeah. This is not a guess from Jeremy. I've talked to him directly about this. He has told me repeatedly when I've asked him about this stuff over the last couple months. I've just had a kid. I like it here. I'm comfortable here. There's nothing here that's like, I want to leave. And Jeremy's... can't share other things. Jeremy's very bluntly honest about things when you've got a good relationship with him. And I trust him. He's flat out told me he's not in a hurry to go anywhere. He's got another kid on the way.
Yep.
Now, if a deal came up where it made sense for both sides, I think Jeremy would be amenable to it. If it made sense for both sides.
And if it's to a place where he's not being sent to Siberia.
Yeah, then that's what I mean.
Because he's already there.
Yeah. Sending him to L.A. makes sense. It's number one. It's Portland to L.A. You're not uprooting your family and going across the country, and it's a very easy change for an NBA player to make. And it's a trip that you make as an NBA player pretty frequently. Guys go to L.A. That's where they spend most of their summers. L.A., Miami, that's kind of where in New York, those are the 3 cities everybody spends their summers at. So it's not a big change. Going back to Oklahoma City, that's a big change. Going to the East Coast, that's a big change. So that stuff, I don't think the Blazers would do that unless the deal was so overwhelming. But even beyond that, the Blazers have shown in the past, they're not just going to screw guys over. And despite what every Miami Heat fan wants to tell you, they did not screw Damian Lillard over by sending him to Milwaukee to play with the one player on the planet he wanted to play with more than anyone. So, calm down. CJ McCollum got a list. Right? Norm Powell and Robert Covington got sent to the Clippers where Norm Powell wanted to go to L.A.
Yeah, he wanted to go home.
Everybody they basically worked with, they have gotten them to a place. Well, Malcolm Brogdon, Wizards, but again, closer to home for him.
But not a guy that Portland needed to do that for because he didn't. I mean, when you produce and provide something of value to the organization, that's when you send a guy and say, "We appreciate your value. Go on."
And they
Malcolm Brogdon was here for a cup of coffee, and
they did do it
he
for
was
Drew
around.
though.
Yeah.
Drew gave him a
Yeah.
list, and I reported that when that deal went down, that Drew Holiday had a list. Like the Utah Jazz pushed infinitely hard. They wanted Drew Holiday, unequivocally.
And when they didn't get him, they cashed out on last year. Last year was supposed to be a year that they were going to try and win, and then all of a sudden they went.
What they wanted to do was get Drew, have Lowry under control, and have the salary space and a bunch of young prospects and a bunch of picks. So if things went sideways in Dallas, they could make a move for Luka.
Yeah.
That's what they were going for. Like, how do we get the guys around Luka? Drew Holiday, who doesn't need the ball. Larry Markkinen, who doesn't need the ball, can both play off ball. One's a plus defender, one has plus size and shooting. It's like it was very easy to see kind of what they were doing, right? Yeah. They've now pivoted, but they've got Lowry locked up long term now, and it was like, oh, Lowry's making all this money. He's a 26-year-old all-star 7-footer who's a damn near 50-40-90 shooter. Who doesn't dominate the ball.
Really damn good. He's so good.
Like
and he's fulfilled his Finnish Air Force responsibilities.
Military service records.
Yeah.
The thing about Lowry, and this is that makes him so unique. There's not a team in the NBA he couldn't play on and be effective. There are so few players in the NBA who are at his skill level where you're like, oh, you need to make concessions and they need to ball.
You do it all.
Lowry plays off the ball maybe better. Everybody talks about Steph. I think Lowry plays off the ball even better than Steph does because of his size. He can do more, so to speak, off the ball as a cutter and as a finisher. Yeah, finisher.
Nope.
Great nickname, by the way. But I think this is a win-win. There's a bunch of people out there like, what are the Jazz doing? They're doing the same thing the Blazers can do. You can have good players and suck at the same time. Calm down. It's exactly what the Jazz are doing. If you think, oh, the Jazz might go for it. No. There's one place on this planet that a Cooper Flag jersey would go more platinum than Portland. And it's Utah. It would flag jerseys in Utah. Like,
that's their great white hope right there.
My God, that jersey, you could put the total number of Stockton and Malone jerseys on this planet, and it would pale in comparison to what a flag jersey would do there right now.
All right. Well, Lauri Markkanen now officially extended in Utah, which opens it up. As you said, there's now two guys that are prime targets, one in Washington, one right here in Portland on the forward trade market, and that is Jeremy Grant, who wants to stay in Portland. All right. Oh, wait. Who was the guy from Washington you said again?
Kyle Kuzma.
Kyle Kuzma.
Yeah.
Is Kuzma really that valuable, though?
I mean,
right now?
Yeah. He's 6'8", two-way forward who's got some playmaking versatility, some scoring, the
Okay.
ability to create off the bounce. Yeah.
All right.
Kuzma, despite being Kuzma, is still a good basketball player.
All right. An anniversary to be celebrated. Today in sports history, a recent Hall of Fame inductee had an all-time moment. Next on The Fan. As Sting's theme brings us back on this Wrestling Wednesday, we head into the time machine. August 7th, 2001. An all-time moment, a man well ahead of the curve. Just this past weekend, Steve McMichael was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. He is suffering from ALS. That was a sad...
It was hard to watch.
It was very hard to watch, but it was also a great honor for him to be getting into the Pro Football Hall of Fame this past year as an all-time Chicago Bears great. Two-time All-Pro and two-time Pro Bowler for the Bears. He was an anchor in the middle of those 85 Bears that steamrolled their way to a Super Bowl. But Mongo is also known for one other thing.
Fantastic.
Probably one of the all-time seventh-inning stretches in Chicago Cubs history.
I think you just say seventh inning stretches ever.
He was a guest singer 7 years after his playing career was over, still beloved by the folks of Chicago. He went to the north side of Wrigley Field, and he gave us this seventh inning stretch.
Mongo's home, Chicago! And don't worry, I'll have some speaks with that home plate umpire after the game.
Bet you can't guess who the home plate umpire is.
Oh.
Boo!
Boo!
All right, and to further this bud's for you, Harry Carey.
Chugging a beer.
All right, let's kick off this show. Let's show Art and Mike how to do it. A one, a two, a three. Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and cracker jacks. I don't care if I ever win. Well, let's root for the Bears. I mean, Cubbies. If they don't win, it's a shame. Oh, it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old Hall of Fame.
Yeah!
He's Chicago drunk for sure.
Absolutely hammered. Doing Harry Carey right, by the
Yes.
way. I mean, you got to be half in the bag or fully
in the
loaded.
Polish it off with the nice cool Budweiser.
Hey,
Hey.
if the moon was made of cheese, would you eat it? I don't know, I would. But he gives a toast to Harry Carey.
And then he tells
He
Angel Hernandez.
boos the umpire, which was Angel Hernandez. This is 2001. This is long before Angel Hernandez was known as a terrible home plate umpire.
Everybody just knew he sucked then, too.
And Mongo McMichael was ejected from that game
By Angel Hernandez.
for criticizing Angel Hernandez. Now, there is some controversy in that. Angel Hernandez says he never ejected Steve McMichael from that game.
I'm sure that thin-skinned moron never did that.
Okay. But what had happened was first base umpire Randy Marsh, he said, I'll handle this to Angel because Angel was just staring daggers from home plate.
Was he at first base with his, what's in a wheelbarrow?
Yeah.
Randy Marsh?
That Randy Marsh. Exactly. So there's conflicting reports. Angel Hernandez, what we do know is he said, I'm going to toss him. And Randy Marsh probably said, no, I got this. And apparently Mongo was removed from his suite after that. So he was ejected, but the cameras never caught Angel Hernandez directly doing it. But I will say this. Steve McMichael deserved to be in the Hall of Fame as a football player. He deserves to be in the Baseball Hall of Fame for that seventh inning stretch right there.
For knowing just how much Angel Hernandez sucked before everyone else.
He's ahead of the curve, man.
Right?
He was a good, Angel Hernandez really came into everybody's, purview when Twitter took off and people started criticizing him. We're talking, that's at least 10 years before the launch of Twitter, and then probably 15 years before Twitter really became popular to criticize Angel Hernandez. He's a modern man. Mongo McMichael. Hall of Famer.
Very good.
And on this day, 2001, booed Angel Hernandez prior to singing the 7th inning stretch.
If you ever given
love
a
it.
microphone and having the opportunity to boo Angel Hernandez,
We all
God,
should.
right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
fantastic.
I went up and I looked up the end of that game. That game ended with a walk-off single by Joe Girardi for the Cubs.
Wait, what? Girardi was still playing?
Yeah. 2001, Joe Girardi hit a single,
How soon was he managing after that?
and then he got caught in a rundown, and he was caught in the rundown long enough for the winning run to score, and that's how the Cubs won that game. Screw you, Angel Hernandez. Cubs win.
God, he was managing in 2008.
Yeah.
He's only 59. Goodness.
That's a little bit surprising. Actually,
Goodness.
the fact that Harbaugh is 60,
Yeah, I guess
it makes sense then. It all makes sense in that regard.
God, I thought he was older than that.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm all in. Thank you, Mongo. Thank you for that. All right, coming up, hour number 2. The wheels fell off at the end of the season. Now there's cracks in the foundation in Philly. Danny and Dusty on the Fan.
This is Rick
Too Danny Dusty with you on this Wednesday afternoon. Thanks for riding along with us. The Philadelphia Eagles started the season rip-roaring start, 10-1, and then fills it out like a stinky fart, losing 5 of their final 6 games of the year, and a lackluster finish all the way around by the Philadelphia Eagles. Something just didn't seem right. And I think what a lot of people pointed to was Shane Steichen, the offensive coordinator for their Super Bowl runner-up season, bolting for the Indianapolis Colts. Jonathan Gannon, the mastermind of their defense, going and taking over as the head coach for the Arizona Cardinals. They had 2 major voids that they had to fill there. Yet, they started 10-1, and nobody could really put a finger on how bad that finish really was for Philly.
So much of this screams now in hindsight, when we were watching it unfold, that they won on talent. Because it was the most talented roster probably in the NFL.
Yeah.
And you can talk about Patrick Mahomes being the best quarterback and fit and all those kind of things and coaching, blah, blah, blah. But when you're just talking pure unadulterated talent, the Philadelphia Eagles, when fully healthy, most talent in the NFL.
Well, and that's why this year is one of those years where you sit there and you go, all right, you lose Jason Kelce, you lose Fletcher Cox, who are 2 of the anchors of your leadership of Philly. Those 2 guys retire, step away from the game. Now you're looking at it going, now they have not just coordinator voids to fill with Steichen and Gannon being 2 years removed, but also player leadership voids, which are huge in the NFL and huge as you're progressing through a season to find who steps up in that. They didn't have to worry about that for decades.
Ever.
Decade with Kelce and Cox. But now we're starting to see the cracks in the foundation maybe a little bit larger than what we were led on to believe. It wasn't just Steichen and Gannon leaving. It wasn't just a couple of injuries here and there. There seemed to be a fracture between the head coach and the starting quarterback, which is never a good thing.
No, and it's an awkward one. Tim McManus and Jeremy Fowler at ESPN, they have a very long piece on ESPN highlighting just how it's not a relationship where these guys are beating each other up and screaming at each other, yelling at each other. It's one where there's just no communication.
I think there's no trust between the 2 of them.
Yes, and there's a line in here in the entirety. I bet you it jumped out to you too. Was that the implication from one of the sources in the article that says is directly involved, which I would imagine is either somebody in the quarterback's room or somebody in the coach's room, that said flat out that Jalen Hurts doesn't believe that essentially that Nick Sirianni has the X's and O's ability to coach and run the offense and coach him.
Yeah. I mean,
that's a what?
Well, and it's Jalen does not give Nick enough credit. A lot of what we do well does stem from Nick. And there is a big hurdle that you need to clear if your quarterback just doesn't trust your head coach and his ability not just to lead, but to coach.
But to actually
X's
be a
and O's
coach. Yeah.
wide?
This sounds like Jalen Hurts, going full couch psychologist here. This sounds like grounded in the weeds, militaristic Jalen Hurts does not believe in the water the bamboo Nick Sirianni. That's what this sounds like to me. Is that the vibe that you're picking up from this?
Well, from what I know of Jalen Hurts, first of all, he's a great young man off the field in almost every regard, but his father was his high school coach, who was a hard ass, kind of militaristic in the way that he was raised and the way that he was coached. He then went on to play for Nick Saban,
who runs a professional business,
a very regimented, militaristic style of leadership that Nick Saban has, despite the fact he has D's Nuts jokes, which may be that cheeky and fun military humor that you're talking about.
100%.
But he goes from that to water the bamboo. We're going to watch this flower grow.
A little hippy dippy.
It's a little bit over the top motivator in Nick Sirianni.
And if you're built like that, typically, not going to say you're closed-minded, but you've been so embroiled in a culture. This is, again, I don't like drawing these parallels because they're not the same, but there are certain strings you can pull. Leaving the military life and going to civilian life, it is a transition. It is very difficult because you are used to a structure, a lifestyle, and it's crazy and it's stupid and ridiculous as we are in the military. There is a regimented and rigid, do not pass go, do not cross this line situation every single day. And if you start interjecting the flower power, water the bamboo, the vast majority of those kind of people are not only going to reject it outright, they're going to laugh at you, say you're stupid, you're ignorant, you don't know what you're talking about. They're not going to take you seriously. And I think that's very, very, very much what we're dealing with.
Well, and there's a lot of quotes that are in here that are pretty telling of the relationship that Sirianni and Hurts have. And look, your head coach and your quarterback do not have to be best friends, but they do have to respect each other. Yeah. See Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. There was story after story of those two guys not seeing eye to eye on a lot of different things, but they respected one another and their ability to prepare, their ability to lead, and
have
their
honest
ability
conversations
to win. It feels like a lot of what is happening in Philly is there is a lack of accountability, and those two guys taking accountability. There's people within the building that are noted in this story of, accusing Jalen Hurts of trying to play hero ball at the end of the year when they were in the middle of their skid and just saying, nope, I'm just going to do my own thing because I don't believe the direction that we're heading right now. There's also quotes in there of when Nick Sirianni tried to take accountability heading into mini camps this year of Jalen Hurts kind of chuckling when asked about it and saying, I guess we're going to have to see about that.
Yeah.
Right? There's a fracture there. A.J. Brown asked about, the relationship and what's going on. He said, I was taught that if I have nothing good to say about something, to not say anything at all.
Which, if you're saying that,
that doesn't seem like
what you should be saying there is it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
The fact that this is getting out and that it is this detailed and there's this many sources means it's bad.
It's not great.
It's like this is Sirianni's going to get fired the second things go sideways.
Yeah,
that's what this is.
Look, I think he knows that too because you go from Shane Steichen in the wealth of talent that they have, and look, they are still a very talented roster in Philly in a very winnable division. They could win the division with having this fracture between their head coach and their starting quarterback because that's how talented their roster is. But you go from Shane Steichen to Ben Johnson, and then now this year they've hired Kellen Moore as their offensive coordinator. Cowboys fans not thrilled with Kellen Moore as their OC. Chargers fans not thrilled with Kellen Moore as their OC. And now you're going to Philly, and what they are hoping is that the relationship between Kellen Moore and Jalen Hurts can kind of supersede the relationship that Sirianni has with Hurts.
And then that's the thing about this that it's interesting is that Sirianni has taken his hands completely off the wheel almost offensively. There's mentions here of Sirianni not even really being involved with the offense as much as just being on a walkie-talkie and feeding information back and forth and hopping kind of between station and station, much like you talk about with Dan Lanning, but even to the point of like actively avoiding Jalen Hurts. Like that seems like a recipe for disaster. Maybe I'm wrong, but that seems like a very, 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 very bad thing.
Yeah, and look, these things can happen when you have two ultra competitive men in a football locker room. Butting heads, it's gonna happen. Like if you are not having any sort of conflict, you're not moving in the right direction. But you have to have two sides that are willing and able to get over the conflict and when a season doesn't go your way. Because, look, I mean, this is the crazy thing about it. It's like Bill Belichick and Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, they didn't win Super Bowls every single year that they're together. Yet you will have a season where you're not standing on the mountaintop.
How dare you?
And when that happens, It is, all right, how do we progress and how do we move forward? It appears that it is Sirianni's going, I'm going to give Hurts his space. I'm going to let him do his thing and try to make him happy by just saying, all right, you and your offensive coordinator, you and your quarterback's coach, you guys go and you will do the offense. I'm just going to take this leadership role because Sirianni apparently more hands-on than what Jalen Hurts wanted him to be because he didn't believe in him in his acumen as an X's and O's guy, as you said, right? So if they can get over that, they don't have to like each other. They have to be able to work together. And if they can't do that, the guy that's going to go is Nick Sirianni because Jalen Hurts has his money now. And now you have the franchise is connected to Jalen Hurts long term. It's going to be Sirianni who's on the way out, and he's going to be the one that has to give more ground than Jalen Hurts does.
The way every point of this shapes up to me is I don't see a way where this makes sense going forward.
It can be. Yeah, I think it can be.
How many relationships that are this fractured where there's been distrust between the two most important figures in your organization on the field?
Well, you have to be able to. Well, the Patriots, and they won.
Was there distrust or disdain or dislike? Because I think distrust is very different.
There was distrust because Brady thought that Belichick wanted him gone. The whole Jimmy Garoppolo
Sure,
thing.
but
and then Robert Kraft went over Belichick's head and traded and gave the green light for the trade for Jimmy, right?
I understand that part of it, but he never distrusted Belichick in the sense of like
he doesn't know what he's doing on the field.
And because Sirianni's significantly more successful, but the line that I'm drawing immediately is to McDaniels.
And I think what we could have here though is if you have a situation where Sirianni removes himself from the offensive preparation and game planning,
I almost
because
think that's worse.
Well, I don't, because if that's the problem that Hurts has, and it appears that that's what it was when Shane Steichen left and Ben Johnson took over, or not Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson's in Detroit. The former Utah guy. Oh my gosh,
I'm drawing a blank.
I am too. But when you have him take over and Sirianni didn't trust him fully, and so he was more hands-on. If you can just hand it back over to Hurts and his offensive coordinator and quarterback coach and say that relationship can carry our offense, then I think you can get over it and be successful. Because it appears that Hurts was just upset with the fact that Sirianni was way too involved offensively. It's going to take both of them, though, to give a little ground.
Mm-hmm.
And it appears that Sirianni's giving a lot of ground by just saying, I'm going to stay away from the offense. Can Hurts give that ground too? Because they have to have some heart-to-hearts that they need to go through. And it doesn't appear that either one of them are willing to build that relationship back up. And if that is the case, then I'm with you. I don't think they can do it.
And this is, again, the armchair psychologist, where if you give somebody like Hurts, and I'm not saying he's a bad guy, and I'm not saying he's right or wrong, but if you give somebody the militaristic person who's kind of refusing to change who he is or what he's doing, if you continue to just give them everything.
Brian Johnson. I knew it was going to come. Sorry.
That's okay. But if you continue to give them everything, it's a kind of a creeping philosophy. Well, they'll just continue to take and take and take and take and take and take and take. And that's kind of where I wonder. I'm like, this seems like Sirianni is like, you ever watch the show Scrubs? You ever seen the gif of Sarah Chalke digging her own grave and like piling the dirt on her? That's Nick Sirianni right now. Like that's what I see. I'm like, I think going this path is bad for him.
Yeah.
Like giving some ground and ceding some control, not an issue. Wholly stepping aside and being like, all right, you do your own thing. And because that's not only just ceding control. It's some people like, well, no, it's a genuine thing to do. And it shows that he cares. It's like, if you're the CEO of a company, you don't tell your, general manager, you go ahead and run things the way you see fit.
Right.
You're the CEO.
100%.
So that's a little weird to me.
This whole thing
Like
is really
this,
weird.
like I don't see how this works. I genuinely don't.
I thought it was interesting. There was a tidbit in there that when Shane Steichen left, that Hertz believed that when Brian Johnson took over, it would be the same kind of thing where they could have they just have their own meetings and they do their own thing. And then he was really caught off guard that Sirianni didn't trust Brian Johnson the same way that he trusts Shane Steichen. That says a lot about your head coach. If you hire or promote a guy to be an offensive coordinator and you don't trust him for that job,
It's like,
then why are you giving him that job at all?
Exactly.
And that's where Hertz had a gripe. I mean, and this is why I also think Philly's gonna go and they're gonna side with Jalen Hurts at the end of the day. They got to have it.
Yeah.
Sirianni's coaching for his job, and I don't know how long he's going to have it if this relationship continues down the path that it is. But Philly, not good. Not good at all.
This is coming out into week 2 in training camp is problematic, to say the least.
Say the least.
Like this is kind of writing the death sentence before the bodies turn cold.
Yeah. All right, one more team is out on the sweepstakes for a high-end talent next on The Fan.
Oregon
Another suitor has bowed out of the Brandon Ayuk sweepstakes. And it is the New England Patriots. No more. No more.
Yeah, it turns out Brandon Ayuk not wanting to go to New England.
I wonder why.
I don't want to be triple covered.
I don't want to be triple covered and playing for an offense that doesn't know who their quarterback is going to be by week 3 and has zero offensive line. I wonder why.
Hard pass. So it's not just about the money because they were willing to give him the money.
And this is where it's getting a little tricky for Brandon Ayuk. All right, so what we know and what we talked about yesterday, the Commanders and the Steelers had bowed out of the sweepstakes, according to Matt Mayoko of NBC Sports Bay Area. He said both the Commanders and Steelers said the asking price was too high, which would be a receiver and a pick for Ayuk, and you have to pay him whatever he wants. Okay. They said, nah, that's a little bit too high. Both of them, by report, said that. Steelers, then, all of a sudden, were back to being a player in this conversation at some point later yesterday afternoon because of the fact that maybe they took a look around their receiver and said, one more guy would be nice. One more guy would be nice. And so they were trying to massage it.
Super useful.
The Browns and the Patriots were the two teams that were left with San Francisco, according to Mayoko, in having those conversations. Well, now that New England is out, that leaves us with Cleveland and maybe Pittsburgh, or he stays in San Francisco. And this is why it's sticky, is that San Francisco's like, hey, man, we'll give you, what is it, the 26 and a half? We'll give you that, but we can't afford to go any higher. And you'll win here. You know you're going to win here, but we can't go any higher than that. If you're looking at the Patriots who are like, we'll give you what you want, but you want to win, now maybe the ball is back in San Francisco's court a little bit more of, hey, dude, we told you, you can go and negotiate these deals. You can go find somebody that wants you, but I don't think you're going to find anything that's sweeter than the deal we have here.
Yeah, it's, for whatever reason, I don't know, call it a gut feeling. I think he ends up in Pittsburgh. I think he does. As much as San Francisco, look, Lynch has done an incredible job in San Francisco. But there comes a point when you strong arm, you get to the point where you end up losing. And as much as they can say, well, screw it, we'll just have you play here under the $13 million that you're going to make this year, and then you'll just walk after the year, that's not good for them either. If they can get a first-round pick out of him...
Well, I don't think you're getting a first out of any team.
Well, I mean, again,
yeah,
that was the reported, was the first and a wide receiver, which I never believe was going to happen. But if you get let's say a second-round pick and a good receiver. Let's say the Cleveland deal is there. Let's say I
think you're probably looking at more like a third if you're giving up a receiver.
Okay,
yeah,
but you're getting Amari Cooper.
You're getting a pick and a player that you think will be serviceable for you in the second or third round.
Yeah, I mean, is Amari Cooper a good player?
Yeah, absolutely is.
Like, as much as you want to focus this year, you are going to be reft of all assets eventually with the way that they have gone. They're just going to run out of space for stuff. And if you can get something out of Ayuk as opposed to just this year, I don't know how you don't do that.
No, yes. That is, and say we need something for the long term. They and that's why they want to pick. They want to pick because they draft so well.
Yeah.
And there's a reason why they're in the predicament that they're in is because they've drafted so well, so many drafts in a row that they're having to make tough decisions on guys.
Yeah,
and they're going to continue to have to do that.
Yeah, and I don't think that you can sit there and say, well, the 49ers are in this great position because they have all the leverage. It's like, I don't think they do.
I think they do in that if they know that their run is going to be, their window is starting to close up, because if you're going to have to pay Brock Purdy, then you're going to have to make some real tough decisions down the road. If there is that 1 year window, because that's what you want. You want to hoist a Lombardi, right? And Brandon Ayuk is the guy that can do that for you. Then you win that Super Bowl, and what do they always say? Teams that win Super Bowl, you can go ahead and veterans are going to come and play for a little bit cheaper. They're going to We're seeing it in Kansas City. Guys will boomerang back around when the grass isn't always greener on the other side because you have the quarterback, you have the head coach, you have a front office that drafts well, develops their players really well. Veterans will be like, well, if I'm going to ring chase, San Francisco looks like a pretty sweet deal to me. So if they're just hinging on, we got some bad breaks last year, mainly, Debo fracturing his shoulder and McCaffrey getting dinged up at the wrong times of the season, and we can get over that hump. That Super Bowl could have gone either way, remember? We could have seen that Super Bowl go 100%. Either way. And they just say, if we get over the hump and we have 1 year of Ayuk, that sets us up for the future. I agree with you in that if you're San Francisco, 100%, you'd want to get something out of him instead of just watching him walk for free later.
And again, I think that as much as we all focus on the now, and you can't always worry about the future, I think as the general manager of the 49ers, John Lynch has to do both.
Yeah.
I think he has to continue to do both. And I think the do both here is getting a player back in return, whether it's Pickens or whether it's Cooper, and then a third round plus pick. And even if it's not the value that you want, sometimes when you're in these situations, this isn't a situation where Ayuk is the only thing the 49ers have. This isn't the Panthers with McCaffrey, right? Where it was like, well, their entire offense is built around this one guy.
Yep.
And if you get rid of him, well, there goes everything.
Yeah. I think where San Francisco maybe feels comfortable, though, is that they have all of their picks moving forward. They have an additional third-round pick next year.
That's the compensatory, isn't it?
Yep, because the DeMeco Ryans being hired by the Houston Texans, they got an extra third-round pick for developing a minority coach who ends up going and getting hired somewhere. And so they're sitting. It may feel a little bit different if they were still handing over picks for Christian McCaffrey, right?
Or for Lance.
And so now they probably feel pretty comfortable with, hey, our track record's really damn good. We can reload.
Which is why I would want the additional draft capital.
You would want more out of that, yeah. But if you're sitting there and looking at a roster that says, if we don't have a player of Ayuk's caliber, we don't win a Super Bowl this year.
I think
maybe they are comfortable with that.
I think they can still.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately where I fall on it.
Maybe they can't, but it's always better to have those players.
No, it is. It is.
I'm with you with if the Amari Cooper and a pick from Cleveland is on the table, yeah, because you can win a Super Bowl with Amari Cooper being your third or fourth
wide receiver
target.
I mean, I was always the guy on him when it came to Amari Cooper. I was like, man, if he was your number 2 and if he's your 3 or your 4, I think you're in a really good spot. Yeah.
And it's one of those situations. Vancouver Ford text line 503-864-6326. Your dollar goes further at Vancouver Ford. They treat you right before, during, and after the deal. Not just wide receiver room need, it's the leverage. That's why we got back in. He wants to play for Pittsburgh. He doesn't want to play for both New England or Cleveland. Now we're just betting against ourselves. That's why. That's why Pittsburgh, and this is why I think that texter saying on the Pittsburgh front, I think Washington is in the same boat, where they're pulling back saying, we're going to be fine. If they get desperate and he starts sitting out, then Washington could be a player in this and say, we're not going to give you a receiver and a pick. We'll give you a pick, though.
And that's why when that story came out the other day where it was, Kendrick Bourne in the first and Amari Cooper in the first, I was like, there's no way in hell those options are on the table, because if they were, they would have packed his stuff for him.
Well, they were on the table, but it all hinges on Ayuk being able to negotiate a long-term deal with that team.
Well, the Browns were willing to.
And apparently the Patriots said, yeah, we're out. Yeah. We're out on this. So maybe those conversations still happening with Cleveland, and he becomes a Brown sooner rather than later.
Cleveland, Pittsburgh, New England, Washington all call each other, hey, you know what? We don't normally do this, but screw John Lynch. We all going to just collectively just drop our offers? Yeah? Okay. Just colluding against him just so that there isn't a market.
Yeah, well,
depress his value.
And if there isn't, then guess what? Lynch is going to be comfortable because he's done it 3 times before of saying, fine, sit out.
That's what I mean.
Fine, sit out.
What happens when you find that guy? Because it's happened before. When that guy says, okay. Doesn't happen often. It doesn't happen often.
But you know what? Brandon Ayuk, one thing we're learning.
He likes money.
He's going to have to pay a lot of money.
Yeah.
He's going to have to pay a lot of money.
Tough.
not to be.
Mm-hmm. And again, it doesn't happen often.
Yeah.
But when it does.
And look, it doesn't sit well in other locker rooms when you have a guy who's like, you have a window. All of these guys are trying so desperately to be on a contender, and you're on a contender, and you never talk about another man's money, and you let him do his thing. But it's like,
and that's
dude,
the other part of this.
You have a window where it's time to win, and all of these guys want to win, and you can do it. It may not sit well with some other teams too.
It's just, again, I think that for all of the leverage for everybody's side, I think it gets very dicey for all parties involved the longer this goes, particularly I should say all parties on the 49ers side of things. So
I think on the Ayuk side, I think all parties involved.
I'm saying with Ayuk. I'm not Steelers. I
think both the 49ers and Brandon Ayuk,
yes.
The longer this thing goes,
it gets worse for both.
It gets worse for both sides.
Which is why I think they need to find an amenable solution.
If you're a Niners fan, you're just like, get it done. I don't care what way it goes. Yeah. Just give me a damn answer, please. It's Damian Lillard trade season, and you're going, I just want to know what the final result is, and then we can move forward. Because we're all going to do the mental gymnastics of Brandon Ayuk's going to be fine, the Niners are going to be fine, and everybody's going to stick the landing.
Yeah. So
until they all careen in the side of the mountain.
All right, coming up with the worst on the web. Hey, that naked guy you saw running across the street, don't let him into your car.
One mate.
But first, here's a Big Kahuna Sports Center update.
You ever had a Big Kahuna burger?
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Jeff Rust here with your Sports Center update. First on The Fan, the Mariners continue their homestand with the second of 3 against the Tigers. 6:40 first pitch on Root Sports and ESPN+. George Kirby starting for Seattle. Tarek Skubal for Detroit. The Mariners start the day with a half-game lead over the Astros in the AL West. Those Astros, finishing a 3-game set in Arlington against the Rangers. Currently 5-3 in the bottom of the 6th from Globe Life Park. All 3 of those runs for Texas coming here in the bottom half of the 6th. Over in the NBA, the Jazz and All-Star forward Lauri Markkanen have signed a 5-year, $238 million renegotiation and extension. Markkanen previously had 1 year and $18 million left on his contract. The new deal adds $24 million for next season, plus an additional 4 years and $196 million with no options. Over in the Olympics, U.S. women's basketball in quarterfinal action this afternoon against Nigeria. We're midway through the third period. USA with a 62-36 lead over Nigeria. Leading the way for the U.S. squad, Asia Wilson, 14 points, 9 rebounds. Brianna Stewart chipping in 13 points, as is Jackie Young. Earlier today, Australia over Serbia, 85-67. Belgium took down Spain, 79-66. And France, 84-71 winners over Germany. In the NFL, Colts receiver Josh Downs reportedly suffered a high ankle sprain today in practice. Initial estimates have his recovery time at 4 to 6 weeks. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Got a smart speaker? It's The Fan in your office and every room of your home. Tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Is your
for today's worst day on the web. With Danny and Dusty on Odyssey and 1080 The Fan.
Man, that sucks!
Unfortunately, if you've been around our office here at the downtown Pearl District area studio we have, we found needles, we found piles of human poop, we've seen actual open drug use, naked people, and sexual acts being committed in the middle of the street while driving home.
And that was Tuesday.
Yeah. It's Portland gets interesting. We are not alone in this endeavor, apparently. As my God, look, man, the Brits they know how to do a headline. Bare naked bandit hijacks car in Iowa and runs over owner before plowing into tree. All caught on camera.
Oh, bare naked bandit.
Not to be confused with bare naked ladies.
When did this happen? Was it 1 week ago?
Yes.
That's my job.
Lost a step in your old age,
Yeah.
Pally.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe he was looking for his old apartment.
I hope this.
It was over a woman.
No, I hope the article starts. It's been 1 week.
Unfortunately, it's a man from Des Moines has been arrested after allegedly hitting a man with his own car while attempting to hijack the vehicle completely naked.
Okay. Well, why don't you lock your door? Like, I mean, if you're hijacking the car, it's like, no, naked man, door locked.
Look, I will say this. I don't know.
At least you know he's not having a weapon.
I don't know if I mentioned this story on
He's
air.
not hiding it.
And I know I've told you this story about the naked guy in the middle of the street on the way home. What was it, a couple months ago?
Yeah.
A couple blocks from us. This is why I brought this up. Is that it's literally happened to me. There was a naked guy holding his junk, trying to get into cars. He tried to get in the car in front of me, and then he came up to me, and I was going to literally run him over. I don't know if he saw the look in my eye of like, I'm gonna run you over, or he just made a smart life choice. But he reached for the door and then opted to kind of do the pull back. The drugs maybe cleared his system for a split second.
Well, maybe he realized that you're not his Uber.
Yeah, definitely not his Uber. But yeah, this is getting super in the weeds. There's a tunnel or an off-ramp in Nebraska, in Omaha, that is actually...
I would say we are way far in the weeds now that ventured to Nebraska.
It is infamous for carjackings.
Oh, really?
Because of the way it like comes together, there's no way to get out of it.
Mhm.
You're kind of sandwiched in. You hit that late at night, you were opening yourself up to a carjacking. And a buddy of mine's wife, it happened to, who was stationed out there. And this is kind of the same thing where, like, I started like, do like, how many cars don't self-lock when you put it in gear?
Yeah, or, I mean, in this case, like, the guy took the driver out.
Yeah.
And then hopped in the driver's seat. Was he, at no point when a naked man comes up to my vehicle, am I like, you know what? I'm going to get out and see what this guy's got going on. I'll maybe crack the window and just be like, hey, man, where your clothes at, pal? Or I will just drive off. That's what I'm going to do, is I'm just going to drive off if the naked guy comes running up.
It's something. I mean,
Being quite honest here.
I mean, when they say naked guy, they mean totally naked guy. And the whole thing's caught on film because somebody's just on the street filming like this whole situation.
Yeah.
And there's a guy sitting at a parking spot, and the guy just jumps into opens the driver's door, jumps in the car.
Oh.
Driver socks him in the face.
Yeah, that's, oh, wow. Yeah. See, why did you even open up the car, though?
Naked guy puts it in reverse, runs over dude
Yeah.
with his own car.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Not
Yeah.
fun.
That's not good at all.
And then drives off with car
Yeah.
while naked. And if you're wondering what the guy looks like,
That's a hell of a drug.
the guy that you're picturing in your head, it's him.
Yeah, dude.
It's 100% him.
Oh, man.
It's not maybe they look like so-and-so.
No.
No, it's exactly the guy you're picturing.
Man. Who knew Des Moines? Des Moines carjackings,
I mean,
you think you're safe somewhere.
well, no. I mean, the meth is really good in the Midwest.
All right.
It's all...
Take your word for that.
And apparently there you don't need a license to sell hot dogs either. This guy's just out there doing it before he takes the car.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Somebody's on the Vancouver Ford text line. Charles Manson without the tattoos.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, he does look that way.
It's very much of like,
Yeah.
I don't know what you're doing here.
You know, there's some places where public nudity is completely legal. This fine city is one of them. Ashland is one of them
Oh,
too.
I thought you were going to say Des Moines.
No.
No, they're not.
But we
they're
do have a
pretty-
naked bike ride here in Portland.
That's true.
But in Ashland, it was a shock to my system. In the summer, there was a group of nudists that would come out and they'd play tennis. They just played tennis, just in the nude. And we'd be going in for like workouts. They only came out in the summertime. That's the only time I ever saw them.
Naked tennis?
Where do
Yeah.
they keep that second ball for the second serve?
Well, you would be surprised. No, just on the side, just on the side. But
Just
we
in the
went in
prison
for
wallet?
weights, and they were just sitting there, bucket naked, playing tennis right behind the stadium in the weight room.
Of all of the sports to play, could you think of anything that puts it more all on display than tennis?
I'm
'Cause
here to
you-
tell you, no,
'cause you-
I cannot
You,
imagine.
you open
another.
it up, you do the splits, you get the
Yeah.
full
A
extension.
lot of range of motion
yeah,
going on
right?
there. Yeah.
A lot of stopping and starting.
Yeah. If you're wondering, no, they were
Not hot.
all of them 60 plus.
Oh God.
Yeah, there's
So-
a good group of
A
them.
lot of angle to the dangle.
Yeah,
So now I know where they keep that second ball.
that's right. It was
Under the mud
not. It was like, and then you just scurry on in. But they don't have that tennis court anymore. So I'm wondering where they're playing their tennis now.
I'm not going to be ageist, but there to be totally fair, there are different rules to how naked you can be depending on how hot you are.
No, I don't think so.
There
I
are.
think you get to a certain age where you just throw that out the door.
Oh yeah, no. I mean,
You're good.
But I'm talking in general. Like,
Yeah.
if you're stupid hot and you're just walking down the street naked, some people might object to it, but you're not getting phone calls. Like 911's not getting lit up.
I don't think. Yeah.
This guy, like
This guy.
Twinker McGillicuddy,
Yeah.
911's been called multiple times at this point.
Yeah. He's
Right?
not. Yeah. Not it, man.
And
Not
it-
it.
There was an article I was going to read the other day, kind of in that same vein. There's a rather large man who's been running shirtless. I can't remember what city it was. Who's been somebody who's repeatedly called 911 for indecent exposure on him.
No,
Just
yeah,
because
I think
no
he got
shirt?
arrested.
Yeah, he ended up
Yeah.
getting
Because
arrested.
of no shirt?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Screw that
Yeah.
neighbor.
Yeah.
You know what? Let that guy run.
Guy's out there trying to better himself, get into
Yeah.
some better shape.
What's wrong with
And
these
you know what?
people?
Sometimes when you're a large man, you sweat a lot. So
You know, that's the same neighbor that calls the police on a meat eater because they're vegan and they don't like the smell
Smell.
of meat.
That's the same neighbor that calls
Everybody
the police
loves the
on the
smell.
kids in the lemonade stand.
Yeah. Yes.
Everybody loves the smell of a barbecue.
Yes.
Everybody.
Mhm.
Stop. Just because you can't handle it, get out of
you
here.
know, maybe McCarthy was right. Maybe they're communist. The
vegans?
Yeah. Well, the ones that don't like the smell of meat. That's how you can actually tell if they're American.
Sure. Sure.
No?
Yeah.
Nothing?
I'm with you on that.
Well,
I think that should be part of the citizenship test.
Speaking of American, what does the American section of a Parisian fresh grocery store look like? Danny and Dusty, today the fan.
Hello, sports fans, and
I don't know, Jimmy G, when you go to the grocery store, you've got your nationality sections
Yeah.
up and down the grocery store. I frequent, too, the Asian and the Mexican. Those are pretty much right in my pocket. I love that they put them in the same aisle because I can just go down and grab basically everything. Can't say that I remember a time when they flashed a French one other than like a baguette.
Yeah, you go to international markets and they'll have like their little sections there. Yeah, but I don't frequent those very often.
Well, I mean, then the French one doesn't stand out, but the American section of a fancy French grocery store. Of course, this is being painted because of what's going on with the Olympics, and it's disturbing.
What's weird to me is that people are getting very offended by this and saying that this isn't what American grocery stores are. The American section in this French grocery store, this bougie French grocery store, has a lot of marshmallow paste.
Yep.
2 types of corn syrup, peanut butter,
bunch of candies,
sour candy, brown sugar, and beef jerky.
Mm-hmm.
And like the people that are offended by it, I'm not that offended by it. I think that they're not that far off.
They went gas station.
Yeah, but you know what?
Throw in some Pringles and hot dogs and you're there.
They have hot dogs they have like pickled hot dogs, like sausages in jars of water.
Yeah. The other
That's
one,
what they're going with.
Cool Ranch Doritos, they're just called American over there.
Oh, like Canadian bacon here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From Pigs from Canada.
It's American flavor.
Huh.
Well, and you want to know why you can't find the French section of the American grocery
actually,
stores?
you know what? That works too because we
ranch.
put ranch on so many things, and we're the only country that does it.
Now, to back up Casey Holdall, ranch should be the official condiment of the U.S.
Yeah, you got a lot of ground to make up on ketchup, though.
But I mean,
but you're not wrong.
It's ranch.
Yeah, it is ranch.
You know,
every kid loves ranch on everything. Yeah.
Dare I say it might be more American than bacon.
My son puts ranch on like teriyaki chicken and rice. Loves it. And I don't know why he does it.
The reflex that I just had.
It sounds disgusting, doesn't it?
Oh my God.
He's like, Dad, you got to try it. No, I won't.
What?
No. Nope.
I just got that, with that stage you get right before
That's the only way he eats teriyaki chicken and rice.
My eyes are watering right now. That's how close I just got to puking.
Yeah.
You know when you do that yawn when you're about to throw up?
Yeah.
That I was a just millisecond away from puking on air.
Yeah, try being the dad who goes to like a bento place and is like, "Do you have ranch?" And they're like, "No."
They're like, "For the salad?" Yeah.
No,
for the
they
salad.
don't have it even for their salad.
They have the ginger dressing.
I always have to tell. I'm like, "Buddy, they're not going to have it." He's like, "Well, you just ask. Do you have ranch?" Nope. Okay, told you. Eat your damn bento.
Oh my God.
Yeah, ranch is it, but. A lot of people are saying that this is unfair and stereotyping American culture. It's like, oh, so you think that like the Mexican section of a grocery store is the clear indicator of all Mexican grocery stores? Yeah. You're giving 3 shelves.
No.
You're giving stop. You're giving 3 shelves. You don't have just refried beans and hot sauce at filling up every grocery store in Mexico.
I've been to a lot of grocery stores in Mexico, and they're very similar to the offerings that are on hand at Fred Meyer.
Stop.
To be fair, Fred Meyer also has a very long aisle of offerings.
Okay.
Just throwing that out there.
All right.
Just, looking at this picture though, it is pretty terrible. It's also the pancake mix, cheesecake mix, which I thought was really interesting. A lot of Hershey's syrup.
Yeah, they just think that we're just fat and love sugar, which
they're not wrong.
I mean,
spot the lie. People, you want to get upset about it, don't have... What is the ad on the... you're on the SI website right now. Scroll back up. What is that ad you got there?
An Oscar Mayer hot dog injected with cheese.
Yeah. Gooey goodness Oscar Mayer. That's the advertisement on the website that has this story of people saying this isn't
it's a glizzy gliding across the screen.
Yeah, they're like, this is an unfair depiction of American cuisine. No, it's not.
No, it's an animated...
The ad on your website pretty much is backing up the French grocery store right now.
Well, and the French, they're mad because you want to know why we don't have the French section at the grocery store? they gave it up.
That's right. White flag surrender. Like, okay, what would you think a French grocery store would be? Baguettes,
Yeah.
Brie cheese.
escargot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just a lot of
assortments of cheese.
Yeah.
Wine, olives.
Yeah, and they'd probably be like, "Bah, how dare they?" Well, guess what? You eat more cheese than Americans do.
Yeah, they got the three. They got the three B's. They got Brie, baguettes, and Bordeaux.
Yeah, I think that they're actually knocking
Wine
it out of
and
the park.
chocolates.
Beef jerky. In this SI article,
There's not
apparently
enough carbs.
beef jerky is a revelation to the French people. They love it.
Yeah.
like they're like, how did we not know this? It's like, well, you know, we were actually forced to make beef jerky. We were just drying out
Because we
all
had
of
to-
the meat that
we
we
had
were
to keep
killing
our meat.
Because
as we were expanding westward.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Couldn't let
not
it go
like
bad.
we kind of stumbled into this one.
Yeah, we figured out smoking before refrigeration.
A lot of salt. Used a lot of salt.
To me, there's just too many sweets in this. I don't think of the U.S. as sweets when I think of food. I think more.
Did you see the cotton candy burrito that got unveiled the other day?
No, see, but I think like when I think of like the ballpark food, it's so much more of the salty, so much more of the savory. I think more savory when I think of American food in general.
Dusty feverishly Googling the cotton candy burrito.
No. I'm just looking up the sugar consumption by the United States compared exactly why the French grocery stores think that.
Yeah.
I mean, United States is the biggest consumer of sugar in the globe. According to sources, the country's per capita sugar consumption is 126.4 grams daily. That translates to 10 times the lowest recommended intake of 11 grams per day.
11 grams of sugar per day. That's in my toothpaste.
The second largest consumer is Germany at 102.9.
And all theirs is just alcohol sugars.
We're at
NZ chocolate bars.
We're at 126. The next closest is 102. And then the Netherlands at 102.5. So I think that they're being fair. I understand what you're saying here because we are a sweet and savory country here. We are sweet and savory. And apparently like soul food is catching the eye of
Look,
French people. Well, yeah, because you know what? It has Creole ties to it.
Yeah, well, not just that.
That when you go to the South and you go to Louisiana and you have the hybrid of Southern comfort food and Creole food, there's a French flair to it.
But there's also like the French. They do baking better than damn near everyone.
They sure
They do. But their food, it's not as good as everybody lends you to believe. I spent a fair amount of time in France. The food's good. It's better than England, but it's sandwiched in between.
Well, that's setting the bar low.
Yeah, I know, but it's sandwiched in between Germany and France, who both do food better.
Mm-hmm.
So, chill, France. All right, coming up next, this next quarterback class is shaping up to be a little bit less inspiring than the class that we just had to go to the NFL, particularly as it pertains to Shedeur Sanders. There are multiple NFL executives, evaluators, and scouts have been given the glass of anonymity to talk about Shedeur Sanders and what expectations could or should be for him at Colorado and his development going forward. We'll get to that and more coming up in hour number 3 on Danny and Dusty. Hour number 3 here on a Wednesday afternoon on Danny and Dusty. Whether you're listening on 1080 AM, watching along on youtube.com/1080 AM The Fan, or twitch.tv/1080 AM The Fan, we appreciate you. We love you. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for sharing some time with us today. It's a good day here. Having a good day, Tater.
It's a great wrestling Wednesday.
It is a great wrestling Wednesday.
Especially with the Astros trying to get the silver boot, which I didn't know was a thing.
I think you just made that up.
I didn't. I found this out today. This is the last game of between the Rangers and the Astros this year, which seems early. August 7th.
It feels like a regional.
You feel like that should be the end of
if it's not the last series, it should be one of like the final 3 series.
Yeah, but apparently they play for a silver boot. I had no idea.
Doesn't someone in college football play for a silver boot?
No, probably. This is very college football. Leave it to Texas to be like, how can we college football up this baseball?
You know, one thing I didn't know existed in college football, and as far as the rivalry awards, Colorado State and Air Force. They have the Ram Falcon.
Yeah, that sounds about
and I'm
right.
like, could you
wait? Is it a Falcon with ram horns?
No,
because if it is, now we're talking.
No, it's just it's like a
ram with talons.
No. It's a ram like being attacked by a falcon.
All right.
They just call it the Ram Falcon Trophy. I'm like, you couldn't get more creative than that?
No, I'm on board with it. We need more trophies in college. I think every game should be a trophy game. Every single one. I mean, the fact that Oregon and Oregon State, they need to play for the Platypus Trophy every year. That needs to be a bigger deal.
The Platy.
Yeah, the Platypus Trophy needs to be a thing. Oregon and Washington, they need some sort of trophy that they need to play for because now it's your Thanksgiving weekend rivalry. It's the last game of the regular season for both of them. They need trophies that they're playing for here.
The Dusky?
Especially when you are in the Big Ten because every damn game is a trophy game in the Big Ten. You've got a pig, you got a spittoon, you got Paul Bunyan's axe.
Who's got the spittoon?
I think that is I don't know. It's Iowa and Minnesota and Wisconsin, maybe.
I had a spittoon once.
I don't know.
Like an actual dyed-in-the-wool spittoon.
All right.
It's terrifying.
Did you use it a lot?
Oh yeah.
All right.
Yeah, no, we kept it out on.
That sounds gross, dude.
No, we kept it out on the patio in tech school.
All right.
It was like a motel style barracks. So we had like the big open walkways in front of all the rooms.
All right, here we go. Oh, it's Indiana, Michigan State. They play for the Old Brass Spittoon.
See, that doesn't make any sense. I don't associate a big old chaw with either of those schools.
Why not though? Whatever. It's you play for the Iowa and Minnesota play for the Floyd of Rosedale, which is a pig. You have Iowa and Wisconsin play for a Golden Bull. That's pretty dope. You have Paul Bunyan's axe,
which is great.
That's
one of the better trophies in college football.
Yeah, Paul Bunyan's axe is Minnesota and Wisconsin. You have the Paul Bunyan Trophy, which is Michigan and Michigan State. A lot of Paul Bunyan here. We're getting a lot of Paul Bunyan. You have Indiana's got some sneaky good ones.
They got a lot of spare time.
Indiana, Purdue, they play for like a barrel, just a keg.
Okay.
That's pretty dope.
Is it loaded?
No, it's not. But you need to have it.
I sense a future topic.
Ooh.
Voting on do we do a bracket
of best rivalry trophies?
Yeah.
I mean, the Golden Hat is pretty dope too
I think we might need to do a bracket.
Yeah. You can buy some of these rivalry trophies. $75 you can buy Paul Bunyan's axe.
All I'm thinking is bracket.
Yeah. Yeah. I am too. This is pretty sweet.
This feels like I might need to do some research tonight and come up with how many we doing 32?
You can buy the Old Brass Spittoon.
Like an actual
You can buy a replica. Yeah. A replica of their trophy.
I'd love to just buy theirs.
No, you can't do that. Come on, man.
It'd be funny. Sell it back to you for 40.
Yeah. Jeez. That's pretty sweet. We need more. We need more trophies in college football.
What are we doing? We do bracket of 32?
Sure. Yeah. Let's do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll put it together. This is stupid enough that I will spend time doing it.
I like that. I like it.
That's the thing that I enjoy doing.
Yeah, this is good. I'm on board.
Okay.
I'm on board. It keeps going back. The Big Ten. Big Ten.
Big Ten, I think, is going to win this as far as like where the winner comes from, but there might be a dark horse somewhere in the country.
Yeah, I mean the Golden Shillelagh or whatever they
Jeweled
call
Shillelagh.
it. The Jeweled Shillelagh.
Yeah, USC Notre Dame.
That's pretty.
It's a pretty good one.
That's pretty cool.
It's a stupid stick with a bunch of with jewels on it.
It sounds like something some random dude would name his unit.
The Jeweled Shillelagh.
Check out the old jeweled shillelagh.
Kind of hardware you got going on
I mean,
down there.
Whoa! You can bedazzle.
Couple of Prince Alberts.
Yeah.
Willamette and Lewis and Clark, they play for a wagon wheel.
Ooh, that's pretty good.
That's a wagon wheel game, and it's like it's
Oregon
one of the
Trail.
oldest rivalries west of the Mississippi River. Is two D3 teams.
Can
up
I
here.
just say
I
love
believe
it.
Willamette is actually the oldest school west of the Mississippi.
Yeah, sure.
I love it when we talk about things, and we qualify it with east or west of the Mississippi.
Yeah,
There's just something very folksy about that.
there's a lot of ground to cover between the Mississippi River and the
And-
West Coast.
Significantly more. And it's always like, well, west of the Mississippi. I'm like, oh, you mean most of the country?
Yeah.
Well, geographically speaking, anyway.
Yes.
Population wise, different.
I think it's caught up.
Okay. Why do Florida and Miami play for the Seminole War Canoe? Shouldn't Florida State be part of that?
Wait,
They
what?
they are the Seminoles.
Yeah, well, I mean, yes. I mean,
Let's face it. When in the time in the history of this country have they ever cared about what the natives think?
true, but also maybe because both schools hate Florida State, that's why they do it.
Yeah. Boise State and Fresno State play for a milk can. Boy, Fresno State has got some lowbrow trophies. They
I
play
mean-
for a milk can and an oil can.
How has Jim Harbaugh not been a part of this?
Where's the AA battery rank in there?
That's a good question.
Vancouver Ford text line: West Virginia should play Marshall for their hottest first or second cousin.
Boy, we got a battle on our hands then.
That's tough.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to use like a 23andMe to
Like,
decipher.
maybe you could just have like West Virginia Marshall play for the family tree trophy and it's just a stick.
It's a straight line. It's a stick with no branches. It's a broom handle.
That's mean.
Well,
That's mean.
if the broom fits. All right, come here.
Play for the gene pool, and it's just a little tiny puddle.
That is so mean.
It's contained. A bucket of water. All right, coming up next, taking a look at Shedeur Sanders and how he fits, strengths, weaknesses, and evaluating what he can or can't do this year to elevate this class of quarterbacks. Coming up on Danny and Dusty, Danny the Fan. Let's see. Today is August 7th.
Ooh, yeah.
We are 20 days from college football? August 27th is the first game,
no.
right, for the Ducks?
No, August 31st. The first college football game, though, is, I think we're 15 days away. It is on a
August 24th.
Thursday. Wait, we don't have a Thursday game to kick it off?
Week 0 regular season for Division I FBS football.
Oh, boo.
Saturday, August 24th.
All right.
Delaware State at Hawaii
That sucks.
is the first.
No, 9 a.m. Florida State, Georgia Tech. In
Oh,
Dublin.
yeah, actually,
that
yeah,
one's
in Dublin. Yeah.
Dang. That's a lot longer than I thought.
So we are still 20 days. Or not 20 days.
Nope.
I can't math.
17 days.
17 days.
There you
Thank
go.
Less than 3 weeks away.
Yeah, less than 3 weeks. Let's go. I'm excited for this college football season. I think we got so many with the new conferences and the conference realignment finally coming into play. I just can't wait for it to all get started.
There's a ton of storylines. There's a million things we worked out. We had Dave Bartu on the other day, Monday, talking about from College Football Matrix. He threw out a hot take that I went, ooh, Colorado, the Fighting Shedeur Sanderses, open up against North Dakota State. A very, very, very good North Dakota State team.
Yeah, and this will be interesting because now we're in the third iteration of North Dakota State, or actually the fourth iteration of North Dakota State, because they've lost a coach to Wyoming, they lost a coach to Kansas State, now they lose a coach to USC, who's took over as an assistant defensive coordinator and linebackers coach. This is truly this is where you start going, how far is the depth in the bullpen of coaches at North Dakota State? But it is a powerhouse FCS program.
Yes. And there was a line that Bartu threw in there that definitely made my eyebrows go up. If Colorado loses to North Dakota State, I believe they'll go 0-12.
Now, I haven't gone that far, but we've talked about the fact that the wheels could come off this thing real early if they struggle with North Dakota State and win. Reality is they are talented enough to beat North Dakota State, even with all the dysfunction that's going surrounding that program.
Just between Shedeur and Travis Hunter.
You have enough talent to win that game, but then you go, if that one is close, then you go on the road to Nebraska. And this Nebraska team is going to be far different than the one that they eked out last year. Then you go on the road to Colorado State, which is a double overtime game last year, and you're looking at that war of attrition. They do not have depth because all of the guys that they brought in, most of them are gone from a year ago, and they still have the same depth problems that they had a year ago. As the season wears on, they're not going to get stronger. They're going to get weaker. We saw that last year in Pac-12 play. You enter the Big 12 this year, which doesn't have the top-end talent like Oregon or Washington.
But boy, is there a lot of good talent in that
There is a
conference.
lot of depth there. Kansas State is going to be good. Arizona is going to be good.
Utah.
Utah. They have in Kansas also. They have all four of those schools on their schedule this year. They're going to be tough outs, and they have to go to Texas Tech. And the one thing we know about Texas Tech, really good at home, terrible on the road.
Yes,
and Colorado has
all
to
the
go down
tortillas.
to Lubbock.
All the tortillas.
And they go. They have Oklahoma State on their schedule too. They probably with Central Florida on there. They have the 6 toughest teams in the Big 12.
With the exception of, well, I guess Baylor's not there right now.
Baylor's on their schedule too.
Oh, so they are. Oh, God. Yeah, so it's not going to go well for them. But right now, because of the way this upcoming 2025 NFL draft class is shaping up, Shedeur Sanders is looked at as QB2 as of right now. I don't believe in Carson Beck at the next level. I don't really think I believe in him in the college level as far as being a great quarterback as opposed to having insane talent around him. But that's for another day. Shedeur Sanders, and I think you and I see eye to eye on this, is a very talented thrower. He's got a great arm. He can make all of the throws. When he has time and he can put touch on the ball, it's pretty. He throws a good ball. I would say a plus decision maker. Very accurate. But he holds on to the ball too long.
I don't think he is a great decision maker because he holds on to the ball too long.
Okay, if you're carrying that.
Because I think that he has windows that he's afraid to throw in.
Okay.
And he got happy feet with a putrid offensive line last year.
Despite what you may or may not think of Prime or Shedeur,
No.
he was playing in front of paper.
But there's also the one way that if you do not have a good offensive line, you get the ball out as
quick.
quickly as you can. And there were times where, a lot of them, where he could have thrown the ball, but I think he is so risk averse because he doesn't want to throw interceptions and give the ball back to the other team. He just holds onto the ball, takes a sack instead, which you cannot do in the NFL. You cannot do it in the NFL.
No, but one of the things that scouts and evaluators have said that they do appreciate about Shedeur is that he does distribute the ball all over the field.
Yes, he does.
Outside, inside, quick decisions, quick routes, longer developing routes, deep to the outside. He's got all the ability to make all of the throws. There's nobody questioning whether or not he can process those reads or make those reads and then complete the throw on them. He has the tools necessary. Now, he does not have the, for whatever reason, the Sanders gene of speed was not blessed across his children. Interesting that one of the fastest humans on the planet didn't have any progeny that were that fast. And it's a little weird, right?
He does seem like the outlier there.
You know, it's just,
Well, maybe, but
Maybe it skipped a
Shiloh
generation?
isn't like a burner on the
No.
outside either.
that's what I mean. Like none of his kids
Skips
are
a
really.
generation.
It just skips a generation. Yeah, it's the elite speed. But so much of what we talked about in Colorado is how much it's just an epic S show.
Yep.
And Shedeur has not been averse to that, whether it's his other brother who runs social media for Colorado, not doing him any favors today. If you want to go on social media, if you go on Twitter, just search darts only, and you will see the worst edited video
It's very bad.
of all time.
Very bad.
It's Shedeur Sanders throwing a deep ball to the corner on the opposite side of the field, and it's edited in a fashion to where it looks like it's an entirely different play where a receiver catches a touchdown in the end zone. Now, the internet sleuths have already kind of gone through it, and it's like, it is the same play. But it's the worst edit ever, and it looks like it's an entirely different play because it looks like it's a ball that might actually have been intercepted. And now you have other universities that are making fun of it.
Yeah, they are getting dragged for that one.
You-
It's really bad.
There was video from the Big Ten of Dylan Raiola throwing what appeared to be like a little 5-yard drop off, and all of a sudden the next edit is a bomb 60 yards down the
The
field.
best was Arkansas. Arkansas did one where they're just totally mocking Colorado
Yes.
in that the quarterback throws like a dig towards the middle of the field, and they edit it to be a high arcing long shot to the opposite sideline. It was great.
Yeah.
It was fantastic trolling by Arkansas.
Look, everybody's going to take their shots at it.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to be interesting is how does Colorado, how does Shedeur Sanders, how does Deion Sanders, how do they all manage the expectations? How do they manage his development? How do they get him prepared to be an NFL quarterback? Because that's what Deion, he won't say it, but that's what this has been all about.
Yeah. And look, he's doing a great job of leading the hype train behind him. But if the wheels fall off this year, that will be 2 years in a row. And if Shedeur Sanders is taking shots at teammates on social media like he has been.
Or heaven forbid he gets wrapped up in some, I don't know, some stupid gambling issue.
Well, that
like-
was the backup
I'm
quarterback.
saying, well, what's going on in that locker room? It's Gilbert Arenas, Javaris Crittenton levels of stupid in that locker room right
There's not a lot of maturity in
No.
that Colorado locker room, and there are bigger issues at play. And look, I feel like if they do struggle with North Dakota State, and then they do start picking up losses early, and guys start pointing fingers, and they can't pull in the same direction and get it back on the right track, Shedeur Sanders, for all of the love that he is getting as an NFL prospect, that's going to start coming back down to earth, because this is not a draft class that is quarterback heavy. Like, if Carson Beck is the number one, I think that tells you why teams were so desperate. I mean, we can call it what it is. When you have 5 quarterbacks taken in the first 11 picks, they were all desperate to go and find a quarterback this year, because you look at next year's draft class and it's Carson Beck, Shedeur Sanders, Quinn Ewers is in that draft
The
class
next
as
on the
well.
list is Connor Weigman at A&M.
You have Jalen Milroe at Alabama as well, where if you look at guys that could make up a lot of ground on Shedeur Sanders and pass him, look no further than Jalen Milroe, who has Kalen DeBoer as his offensive coordinator and head coach, right? You know, you have DeBoer's system's going to be coming down. You have a wealth of talent that's still going to be around him at the receiver position, and he's got a live arm. He will get a bump this year if he thrives in Shedeur Sanders goes down. Quinn Ewers, if Quinn Ewers can have a big year
Just stay healthy.
without Xavier Worthy and without A.D. Mitchell, then you're looking at him and going, Well, he lost his 2 best targets from a year ago, and he's still thriving with Sark, which he should do at Texas
Especially
this year.
getting Isaiah Bond in.
Because they are going to be really damn good in Texas. And you shouldn't look at the success of your team and say that's going to be the indicator in the NFL. But if Shedeur continues to take sacks, holds onto the ball for too long, even that clip where, it was darts only, you saw him stutter in the pocket instead of slide up. He kind of ducks down, gets scared, and then holds onto the ball for too long and ends up popping it down the field. Like, those are things that get you killed in the NFL. And those are things that draft evaluators are going to look at. Shedeur has all of those tools. If that offensive line cannot give him happy feet back in the pocket, where there's not a quarterback alive that would be standing tall in a pocket in waiting to deliver a throw and knowing you're going to get hit if you have the O-line that Colorado has.
Yeah.
Not one in the country.
No.
Not a single one. But if you're not getting the ball out quicker this year and maybe taking a little bit more risk and showing your live arm that he does have, then you're going to see evaluators say, well, does he have it in the NFL level? Because you've got to be able to thread a needle, and you got to be willing to get the ball out quick if your offensive line isn't good.
It's an interesting place to be. He still has to, this year and then to make the transition to the NFL. The book hasn't been written, but it's not a choose your own adventure by any means at this point.
I think a guy too to keep an eye on is Jackson Dart at Ole Miss, because if they have a big year this year, he is very talented.
No, he is.
He is super talented.
It took him 3 schools to figure it out, but he's figured it out.
And I think Riley Leonard at Notre Dame, the Duke transfer, he got dinged up last year. He's more of like a bowling ball type. I'm interested to see what Riley Leonard brings to Notre Dame this year. I like him a lot.
Yeah, unfortunately, he lost his left tackle for the year.
Yep, that's not good.
Problematic. Keeping it in the quarterback world, Nick Saban's he's got time.
I like this.
And he's got time to educate the Chicago Bears and Matt Eberflus on how to handle Caleb Williams going forward. But first, here's the Big Kahuna Sports Update.
I hear they got some tasty burgers.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Jeff Rust here with your Sports Center update. First on The Fan, the Mariners continue their homestand with the second of 3 against the Tigers. 6:40 first pitch on Root Sports and ESPN+. George Kirby on the bump for Seattle. Tarek Skubal for Detroit. The Mariners start the day with a half-game lead over the Astros in the AL West. Those very same Astros finishing a 3-game set in Arlington against the Rangers, and Texas down to their last gasp. Bottom of the 9th inning, they trailed Houston 6-4. Over across the pond, U.S. women's basketball faced Nigeria in a quarterfinal matchup, coming out on top 88-74. 20 points, 11 boards for Asia Wilson. The U.S. will face Australia in the semifinals. The other semifinal features Belgium and France. Jazz and All-Star forward Lauri Markkanen have signed a 5-year, $238 million renegotiation and extension. Markkanen previously had 1 year and $18 million left on his contract. The new deal adds $24 million for next season, plus an additional 4 years and $196 million with no options. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
The Fan Merch Locker has new shirts from the fan shows and hosts you love. Get yours now at 1080thefan.com.
Nick Saban's got time. That's what happens when you retire from being the old ball coach.
But he doesn't retire for football. That man can't.
God, no.
Can't quit.
There's no way, shape, matter, or form that man can entirely quit football. And his holistic and philosophical ideas, I think, have evolved over time. But I think, and specifically as it pertains to quarterbacks, because this is a man who was like, I'm going to win with defense and running backs for 10 years. And then the realization around, 2012? 2013 that he needed quarterbacks.
His offense needed to get out of the Stone
drastically
Ages.
change.
Yeah.
So he's gone through this, and I mean, I think there's some very direct parallels you can draw to that in the Chicago Bears.
Mm-hmm.
This is a franchise that has unquestionably the worst history of offensive production and quarterback play in the entirety of the NFL, and it's not close.
No, they've never had a 4,000-yard passer.
It's the ineptitude reaches levels that no one else can claim. Now, you can talk, well, they're an outdoor team. They're in the black and blue division. It's like Green Bay Packers play in colder, crappier, worse weather and have had three Hall of Fame quarterbacks already, of which, if you take parts of their careers, would be better than the combination of any Bears quarterback you could ever mention.
Yeah, and like everybody wants to always crack jokes at, the Cleveland Browns and in their quarterback situation. Brian Sipe, everybody, 4,000-yard passer.
Babe.
They've only had one, but Brian Sipe did it.
Yeah.
The Bears also, I believe, have never had a quarterback throw for 30 touchdowns in a season.
Good God.
That's not good, Bob.
The Bears-
Also, Brian Sipe, 1980. Cleveland Browns.
Even the Browns got it right once.
God, Baker didn't take him over 4,000?
No, Baker, 3,727 touchdowns.
I would have got that wrong.
Yeah.
I would have thought he would have thrown for like 4,100.
No.
Would have just clipped it.
No, poor Baker. Derek Anderson got close, though. 37-87 and 29 touchdowns.
Ooh, almost 4,030.
Yeah, that's a Pro Bowl year, buddy.
Again, Pro Bowl quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Bears, they have many of those? How many?
Sexy Rexy, Jim McMahon. But you know what? The one thing the Bears have had is futility at quarterback, but they've won a Super Bowl with the most dominant defense in NFL history. Yeah. And, oh, by the way, went to a Super Bowl with a dominant defense with Rex Grossman.
With Rex Grossman.
Yeah.
So, again, drawing on those parallels, shout out some really great footage back and forth between Nick Saban and Matt Eberflus on Hard Knocks. Just holistically, how the Bears can prepare to have Caleb Williams be successful.
Here's my theory on why NFL quarterbacks fail at such a dramatic rate. To me, expectations are a killer. This kid's got so much media, so much hype, so much expectation on doing well. And he has to develop so quickly to meet the expectations that everybody has for him, it's almost impossible. The expectations are a killer, but yet, to use your word, development is the key for him. Like Peyton Manning threw 28 interceptions when he was a rookie. It's the most in the history of all.
Manning looks to throw, tipped and intercepted.
It's unbelievable.
Put the nail on it.
But it didn't affect them. It's like the scoreboard. The scoreboard don't mean anything until the game's over.
You and I have talked about this a bunch off air over the last couple of years in the sense of how quarterback development, and you are certainly, I think, more lenient on guys and giving them more and more opportunities to show things. Like,
yeah, because history will tell you that environment and your coach and your system, they matter. They matter a ton.
I 100% agree with you. But I also think that there's also the staggering majority of evidence is that you've got to show something. Even in the microcosm of, my God, the Bears had nothing around Justin Fields. I don't think he's going to go to Pittsburgh where he's going to have a better offensive line and have some semblance of an offense around him. He's going to look leaps and bounds better.
No, I won't say the guys are trash and then you go, well, everything around him was trash.
Yeah, no.
I think Justin Fields can be serviceable.
Sure.
I don't think he is ever going to be an all-pro or worthy of a top 5 pick, by any measure, but I think he was the 10th overall pick,
to
right?
11th.
Yeah, he was in there. It was just he was in Chicago. They were hoping for a savior, and they had nothing around him.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, there were people ready to write off Josh Allen and Jordan Love and Jared Goff, and people were like, they're bums. I will look at a guy and be like, I don't know, man. There's not a whole hell of a lot around him.
And I think I'm not on the way of bums. Well, Bryce Young, I might be there with him, but
Again 1
it's
year
the most,
with the worst offense in the league around
it
him.
might be one of the worst offenses ever, which is why I caveat that, but also saw nothing from him that where I was like, well, maybe. And I think that's
Were you watching a lot of Carolina Panthers games?
Unfortunately, I did watch a lot of Panthers games.
Why?
Because I like watching rookies. I'm
Okay.
sick. But in general, I do agree with what Saban is saying, because even in Peyton Manning's rookie year, where he led the league in interceptions, and they went 4-12.
Mm-hmm.
You still saw the glimpses with Peyton, even when it was, oh God, that's terrible. Oh, that's terrible. You still could understand what that was. And if you go back and look at that 4-12 team, there were weapons on that team.
Mm-hmm.
And he still was a complete S show. But there was a belief, there was an understanding, there was that, hey, it'll be there. And I think that, number one, that level of patience in the NFL doesn't exist anymore. I don't think Peyton Manning level of patience where, to be honest, I think the comparison you draw almost is Scoot Henderson, where as such a high level pick, the stats were so underwhelming.
Yeah.
But the difference I think between Peyton and Scoot is that Peyton did have legitimate moments of, oh, that's different. That's processing. That's special. That's, you know what I mean? You could feel it. There was something there that was like, look, I know X, Y, and Z aren't good, but boy, A, B, and C, you know that there's something there, and you can keep mining that. And I think even in the worst situations, the worst circumstances, I think Saban, especially what he's saying there, is you've got to cultivate that. You've got to hold on to that.
I think one thing that Chicago has done a really good job, though, is that they committed to improving the offensive line. They improved the weapons by leaps and bounds. This is nowhere near the offense that Justin Fields had around him. And Caleb Williams gets the ability to step in and have actually a chance to prove himself. Also, I think there's a part of Caleb Williams where he is part of the factory that has developed him to get to this point where, you know, Nick Saban's talking about the expectations that are being held against him and will be held against him. He's okay with that because those expectations have been there since he was an 8th grader.
Yeah, and him and his father helped build those expectations.
Exactly.
Like that was part of the deal, was that, you know, build those expectations so that you can live up to them and exceed them even.
Yep.
Whether it's at Oklahoma or at USC. And you can talk about how, you know, what happened at Oklahoma or what happened at USC. He won a Heisman Trophy and was one of the most prolific players in college football history. I mean, that's it is what it is. So you take a look at what those expectations are for him going forward. I think the bar is going to be not unnecessarily.
Boy, you USC'd that by calling him one of the most prolific in the history of the game.
It was. I mean, that Heisman season was one of the most prolific. It was one of the most individual prolific seasons in the history of college football. That's not a USC thing. That's just it was. That's what it was.
It was a very good season. He won the Heisman Trophy.
When you shatter passing records and touchdown records at USC that has multiple Heisman Trophy winning quarterbacks, it's one of the most prolific seasons in college football history.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of them that have been there.
Yes, it's my point.
Okay,
it's not USC. It's
I don't think
factual.
it was the most prolific in 5 years. Joe Burrow.
Okay. Well, yes, I said one of. One of.
But I know what you're saying.
God. Unbelievable.
I'm giving your USC honk a little bit
it's
of
going to be a down year. God. Coming up next, I strangled Dusty. Danny and Dusty. Well, we found a way to jinx the worst thing or the best thing going in baseball was the
what?
White Sox losing.
Yeah, you know what? The White Sox and the A's.
Yeah.
Get out of
Unbelievable.
town with this.
6 runs yesterday. Didn't even come close to the over.
Top of the ninth, White Sox are losing 3-2 with 2 outs. So they could start a brand new streak
brand
today.
New streak.
Yeah. Frank Thomas had quite the quote on this. Yeah. Oh, this is fantastic. Here, we got it.
This could do it.
Oh, no, that's not it.
To
It was a heck
left
of a ball
field
game.
coming
Sox
in.
found a way to win. That's all we wanted in Chicago, just to win. It's hard to be the laughing stock in baseball. You know, these long losing streaks, everyone talks about it, and the rest of the national news pick up on it.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
easy conversation. It's easy news. So now, turn the page, move on.
They still are the laughing stock of
No,
baseball.
That hasn't changed.
Like,
There's
they-
no amount of eugenics.
And
that
that's
changes
with
that.
the A's
No.
around.
One game did not change it. But you know what it did give us? Probably the loudest F. John Fisher chants that were heard on TV.
Which, fantastic. I'm all for
I
it.
mean, it was crystal clear. When the A's lose the game to the White Sox that could have kept history going, the few fans that were there last night, they were cheering F. John Fisher. It was crystal clear through the broadcast.
And they don't dump it.